All right, we're good.
Yeah. Welcome, everybody.
Oh, well, we were at the beginning.
Well, I just want to welcome you. This is an open house, so it's going to be very informal. And I really appreciate all of you coming out to kind of hear about the alternatives. We're very excited about it. There's a new alternative that's especially exciting that I think Carl had kind of indicated he wanted us to consider more, and we finally got some legal leeway from the state legislature here this in late 2025. So just we have a AJ. I'd like to introduce AJ, our Public Works Director, AJ Dorn, and he's got a PowerPoint presentation that's pretty short that he wants to be able to kind of just break the ice with, and I'll let him do that. And then I encourage you just to kind of walk around and talk to the folks at the different stations to answer any questions. And this is Jeff Aprati, our city manager, is out in the hallway.
Yeah, Tyler's out there in the hallway. And we realize these screens are small. I can print out a few of these slide presentations if anyone wants them. Just let me know.
And are these also available on our website?
They are on the website as well. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Go ahead.
You want the agenda
Now.
for the overview?
Yep.
There you go.
Okay. All right, so thank you all for coming here tonight. I just want to kind of talk through where we are with wastewater currently. We just kind of skip forward.
Yep.
All right. So for those of you that have been paying attention, last year we were looking at a regional treatment solution for our wastewater. We were looking at pumping raw sewage from here to Gresham's wastewater treatment plant to be treated there and discharged to the Columbia River. We worked through that over this last year, found out that it is definitely feasible. Gresham was on board. But as we got further and further into analysis, took things from a planning level down to a much more granular level, we found that the costs were considerably more expensive than we had initially planned. So our high estimate turned out to not be high. We can go right to that. All right, so towards the end of last year, House Bill 2069 was passed through the Oregon State Legislature. Yeah. And basically that is Oregon's kind of changing its stance on water reuse. And so we are currently with a nursery partner reusing water already, but this is opening up more avenues for us. Our alternatives that we're looking at currently are a deep injection groundwater recharge or a shallow kind of infiltration style groundwater recharge. This basically helps us out with to start off with our main two issues where Sandy's only allowed to discharge the creek for half the year. And in the seasons after our discharge is closed and before our discharge starts again, a big storm can send a lot of water through our plant, and there is nowhere for it to go if our nursery partners do not currently need water. So what this groundwater solution allows us to do is manage our shoulder season issues, what we call them, which allows us to discharge in the scenario where there's nowhere for water to go. But with Tickle Creek changing and becoming smaller and smaller all the time, it also helps us with a potentially dry winter scenario where the creek is too small, we have too much wastewater to go into it, we can only be 1/10 of the creek at a time. And so this would allow us to still have a location to discharge during those scenarios. Let me get to the next one. Okay. So as I mentioned before, we had an initial plan to go to the Sandy River with an MBR built at our plant, which is something that you can learn about more when we walk around here, but it's a higher level of treatment than the conventional activated sludge we are doing currently. This option is, it was almost as expensive as the Gresham option when we first looked at things, so that's why we were weighing both options. It has a potentially long permitting time because the Sandy River has a lot of friends and we don't want to be the first one to discharge to it. Our second alternative was the Gresham alternative, which I spoke about earlier. It's our fastest option, but became the most expensive. There are a lot of good opportunities there, but it is infeasible for us because there's just no way to afford it currently. So with the state change, we've got our groundwater discharge, which also includes the MBR at the wastewater treatment plant for the same reason as at the Sandy River, with additional polishing on top to treat the water to a even finer quality than what we'll be making out of an MBR. So we've got Sandy River discharge, which is around 165 million. We've got the Gresham treatment plant option, which is between 184 and 195 million, and then this option, which is between 134 and 147 million. The ranges on cost there with Gresham are due to the fact that we didn't get to a point where we determined what it would cost to connect to Gresham. There's an upfront fee similar to an SDC, but not an SDC. And then the range in costs for the groundwater option are due to uncertainties with permitting and what the polishing is going to look like, which is the final treatment that we would do before we put anything to groundwater. Okay. All right, so kind of regurgitating a lot here at this point. We're going with this facility plan recommends the groundwater discharge option. It is our lowest cost option. It gives us the most flexibility. It is the one option that retains our current reuse that we are doing. So it's beneficial for the region in that sense too. As I mentioned before, one issue we have is a discharge of this nature hasn't been permitted in Oregon before, so we are going to be the guinea pigs. The hope is that since the method we intend to use this is such a small bite, everybody's got a good appetite for it. So that means state permitting agencies, it's not this all or nothing solution. We've got alternatives. And then the other thing is, along with permitting, once we figure out what we need to treat for, then that will affect what our final treatment polishing is, basically.
Yeah,
All right, so one advantage to this alternative is all our planning to this point has set us up well to start on an MBR as quickly as possible. So with the adoption of this plan, we can start phase one of this work, which is treatment plan upgrades, including the headworks, changing things around, installing a MBR at the plant, changing our biosolids handling and storage. And then phase two of this will be the effluent polishing, which we will also be working on simultaneously. It'll be figuring out the permitting side of things to start with, and then the logistics of actually getting them in place. This actually is available on the board here and much easier to read in person, so we'll skip past this one. These are our two front runners for our polishing options. We have activated carbon, which is effectively a series of very large Brita filters, and then we have reverse osmosis, which is a much more complex treatment. Removes more, but it leaves us also with a waste stream that is difficult to deal with. So. And as I mentioned before, this solution offers us a three-pronged approach to discharge. If it is winter time and we are allowed to discharge to Tickle Creek, we will do so. Gravity is always going to be our cheapest alternative. If we are not allowed to discharge to Tickle Creek, or if there's any out of season need for water with our nursery partner, the water will go there. And if there's nowhere else for the water to go, it will be groundwater discharge. Brief overview of what groundwater discharge actually looks like. We have the infiltration method, which is shown here as a pond. We would actually have some sort of subsurface infiltration so that we are not affecting what work is done on the surface of the property, or a deep injection, which gets us down below where the wells are in the area. These different methods will also play a factor in what the polishing method is to be determined. Yeah, right. Was that quick enough?
Yeah.
All right.
Can you just mention who's here to field questions?
Yes, so first and foremost, Jeff Prati.
Not an engineer.
So I'll be standing in this general area here. We've got Heather Stevens, which is part of our Stantec program management team. She is an expert in all things treatment.
This is Heather here in the front. I have,
And other than that, we've got our council.
we have our city council here as well. That's city manager Tyler Deems.
Is there anyone else with city of water or sewer or just you, EJ, or?
Just me.
Okay.
The materials here on the table, we have, kind of a 5-page over, can you just hold that up?
Yeah.
5-page overview of our wastewater facility plan amendment process with the breakdowns, got some budget numbers in there. If that's a lot of reading, we also have the very brief, high level, what is groundwater recharge thing. You could maybe take some of those home with you, share with your friends. We also have one copy of the 400-page wastewater facilities plan amendment document here. All of this stuff is also on the website. Yeah, look forward to talking with everyone and please. Do you have a question, Carl?
Yeah, I do. EQ hasn't always been one of our friends. And they have pushed us around hither and yon for years now. And where you said this was the guinea pig strategy. Just how influential are we with them, and do you think they're gonna work with us? This is a brand new process, and like I said, they haven't been the easiest, and they're the ones that need to be pleased, right?
Yes, they are the ones that need to be pleased. We have been working with, we've started working with the water reuse team, which is a group of DEQ that is pushing the water reuse work. Our hope is with the state pushing down on them from the top end, that will also help sway them in the right direction. Yes.
So other places that have been doing something similar to this?
Thank you for that question. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So there are other places in the state that use, the shallow infiltration, as a method of aquifer recharge, depending on where that would be located. There could be some additional hoops to jump through with respect to the free basin rule, which we talked about at some of these meetings is a strong driver. There's also precedent, in other parts of the country, in the Southwest. There's direct injection to aquifers. A wastewater utility in the Olympia area is doing something similar right now, where they're going to be pilot testing the polishing technologies that this facility plan considered, to demonstrate to regulators in Washington that this is a viable and practical way to use water.
You're saying around Olympia, or is it the Olympia, city of Olympia?
It's called LOT. It's a joint utility of Lacey, Olympia, Tumwater, and Thurston County.
Oh,
So they're a
okay.
regional city utility.
So they're trying.
Yeah, and then
How
they're,
long have they been doing it?
they're just piloting this summer, so they haven't permitted it yet. There is a utility in Eastern Washington that has also permitted direct injection to groundwater. I can't remember off the top of my head what that is.
How long have they been doing the south, so the southwest?
In California.
Yeah,
Go.
yeah, they have pretty well-developed regulations around aquifer recharge using, treated effluent, so there's a large groundwater replenishment project in Southern California that's been in place for, I would say, maybe 5 years. I'm not sure about the ones in Arizona. There's one direct potable reuse project in Texas that went in a few years ago, I believe. I think that's the only direct potable reuse. So that this would be considered, if it was injected into a drinking water aquifer, it would be considered indirect potable reuse. So that's what's more typically done in the Southwest.
And so has a location, I mean, let's assume an injection is what's gonna happen. And have you guys identified potential locations for this? Or are you still in the pre-planning?
We have a location in mind.
Okay.
We need to do the groundwork to make sure that location will work for us.
Where is that exactly? More or less, I mean, you know.
Is it in the sand?
I'm very
dunes?
familiar with the area, so where exactly?
Was that?
You can say.
It's at the nursery partners property.
Okay, so it's boring.
Yep.
So it's on the
So
Ivory
it's in
side,
Clackamas.
right,
in the
right
Clackamas
where
side.
the
That's the
discharge
three
comes
bases.
out, right where the discharge
Depending on
comes out.
depth,
Uh,
but, yeah.
similar location is further to the northwest than that.
Okay, so
So
that's
towards the treatment plant,
Away from you.
away from the
Slightly
treatment plant.
further,
So that's the boring aquifer, if you will,
yeah.
which is actually very limited right now in what they let people pull out of it because it's. Okay, good, so
Yep.
that's a good place to put it back in.
That's our hope, yes.
And I guess the soil sample will determine what method of recharge would be used, whether it was deep injection or the other.
The shallow, more shallow infiltration.
So that's all pending testing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It'll be seamless.
Yeah, and pending, so with shallow infiltration, there would need to be studies shown, or studies conducted to determine what the pathway is for that, you know, what kind of, where a drop of water goes and, you know, how quickly it gets to Tingle Creek. If it's shallow injection, then, and we need to navigate through, essentially navigate through changes to the Creek Basin rule.
And I'm very much for this, but just a question like on the depth of the injection, have you looked up all the wells in that area, do you know how deep you would have to go?
I've looked at the ones in the general radius there, looks like the wells, and I haven't done the elevation side of things, so they're all growing between 250 and 300, 220. So,
Down the aquifer.
down there.
So if you drill to the aquifer, then you're saying it's gonna go beyond all the wells that are in that area?
That's my understanding.
In there, and the aquifer has a different level down there, or I'm not. I'm thinking an aquifer is kind of this whole big thing, and that's where everyone's getting our water. But then how do you go beyond it if it's, I mean, aren't we in?
Not the aquifer itself, just deeper, am I saying?
Yeah.
So basically just deeper. in.
How does that work?
Go ahead.
So-
I guess I don't understand, like, the aquifer is how deep? And you're going deeper, but the water is just dispersed in the aquifer, right?
It gives it more time to disperse the fluid.
Okay, and then how do you know how much gallons or whatever is in the aquifer itself that you might be considering, like, and then how much is depleted over certain periods of time? You know, like, if more people are using more water through their wells by, you know, yeah, irrigation, just, you know, in general, how do you keep track of how much water there is to versus how much you would put into it? So that, I guess.
I think my answer for this is gonna unfortunately be a non-answer. Unless how do you feel like answering that one? I think that's
I
beyond the
think
expertise.
That's really important,
It is, yes.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
if for some reason the aquifer is water I'm getting from my well and I'm drinking it and you're putting a certain amount in it because you say, okay, well, we tested it at this point and we're gonna put this much into it, and then all of a sudden it drops a lot and then the concentration levels are totally different. Like, is there testing all the time? Every single day, how many times in an hour?
There
Like,
would be testing and the existing regulations say that the quality of groundwater can't be depleted or, you know, can't be, we can't impact the existing water quality of groundwater. So that's where this advanced treatment comes in, that the polishing comes in to make sure that there isn't a degradation in background water quality in groundwater. So that's on the quality side. I can't speak to in terms of the quantity and like how levels in the aquifer would be affected. That's beyond.
so when
my-
you're talking about polishing, you know, A plus, you're trying to go through the carbon part and the osmosis or whatever. One's more expensive than the other. One probably gets a cleaner, you know, treated water versus the other. And I'm sure that we're talking so much in dollars and cents, we want to go with the lesser amount that doesn't, but then but you still have tons of discharge from doing either one of those processes.
But
Or-
explain that one of them is only not all the way down the up.
So the intent as it stands right now is with the more shallow discharge, there is a certain amount of treatment that the ground will actually perform too on its way as it goes through to the aquifer. So in that scenario, it seems like the activated carbons will be adequate for us. And as far as the the point of cost versus treatment, it is a balancing act. The intent is to treat the water to the quality standards that we're required to as cost effectively as possible.
So, but the amount that's going in is only when you can't send it either to Tickle Creek or to the nursery for use in their potted farming.
That is correct.
So, do we have an estimate of that, what you think that might be?
That's the problem because it's coming in at times where we cannot discharge, so it's not like at the standard discharge, you know,
Right.
this week we're gonna make this much water, it's a storm's blown in, we've had to treat a ton of clean
Right.
water coming through our system, so that periodic use is very hard to determine because it depends on the size of the system.
But it's not all the time.
Right.
Right.
So are you all folks that live in the boring area or are you city residents?
No, I live right. Okay, I'll just be upfront. That affluent line is on my property and I have had breaks in that pipe. And AJ probably knows from I've worked with them. I feed those guys, I give them treats, I do everything. They're very nice. I look like I have some graveyards on my property because the grass seed isn't quite the same. I mean, people come down there and they look, oh, it looks like a park. And then they have these spots where and you admitted that it's been a long time. It was the wrong product to use. It's very hard to get. It's breaking all the time. Last fall, you told me I didn't have to worry about it. You were gonna send it to Gresham, and I was so thinking that was like, yeah, you said maybe,
So,
but that was like, because I will tell you right now, what comes out of that pipe is horrible. If you, none of you guys would drink what's coming out of that treated, and I realize that now you're saying you wanna do this polish or whatever, and then you wanna put it down into some water that's gonna be possibly infiltrated into the wells in the area, which I'm on a well. And then I'm hearing that all this water's in the water tables and these aquifers are going low and low and low all the time because there's just so much water being used. So and I realize you wanna do this polish thing or whatever and make it so it's stay quality.
But there's even a step before that, the membrane plant.
Right.
So the membrane plant is gonna clean it up far more than what we currently are. And then there's this polishing that people get to either A or A plus quality. As it's been explained to you, is that right?
and then the low hanging fruit for this whole thing, that line that we've been limping along because we were planning to go to Gresham will be repaired completely. So that
Yeah, but now you're gonna go from a 9-inch pipe to a 9-inch diameter pipe to a 20-inch diameter pipe. So then if anything pressurized goes up to Isley's or whatever and breaks, it's not gonna be, and they're pretty significant breaks and the water comes out like all over the place. You're talking 20-inch pipe, that's gonna be quite a bit. So there's just
So
some other things that,
I totally understand that, and I can't speak to stuff pipe size at this moment because I'm drawing a blank here for our future pipe size, but the pipe that's put in place will be properly designed to handle pressurized flow, unlike the pipe that's in the Gresham.
there's always problems with stuff like
course,
that.
of course, but-
When you're, anytime you're pressurizing any pipe and sending gallons and gallons of water through a bigger size pipe, who knows if it might be more breaks than the 9-inch pipe has been giving us or whatever, but, and how costly that is. I don't know if that's all in the budget or whatever. The pipe that's in there right now wasn't put in very good. There's not a lot of gravel. There's a lot of areas where it breaks. It's not, to do it sufficiently is gonna take a ton of money, and I don't know how much money is being thrown at that. But, I guess I feel like I would like to taste test a glass of water before it's gonna be put down into some possible drinking water for all the community in that area that are on wells, because, what I see coming out right now, and I know you're gonna do all this stuff, but the state and everybody, oh, well, we have this minimum, but then you're basing it, and like I was saying, on the number of gallons that the aquaville for has, or, how does that change? How do you figure those out?
And that'll be part of the monitoring process and part of the permitting process. So you will have to know what's going on underground with any solution.
So I'd like to kind of just have everybody have a chance to ask questions. So what I'm gonna do is kind of change it from this framework to be able to kind of, because I want everybody to be able to ask questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I'd like to go ahead and just,
Open house it?
yeah, open it. Yeah.
So,
And,
how's the affordability to the residents of Sandy here?
So we invite you all to come up and look at the various materials that we have.
From the whole.
With the approach that they need. How big is their aquifer? And I was trying to, how big is their aquifer?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, lots of, and then what method are they using to do that with their aquifer?
They're doing both.
We have some handouts like Jack mentioned, the presentation that AJ is online.
The only thing that's not,
Where you go.
oh, I can show you right now.
Everything going on, like,
So.
other things that bother me is changes to street and like evolution and things that happen. It makes sense that transition was put into the street. I've been there.
That's what always happens. That is this little thing here. I need to add this. I'll do it right now.
Do you have the presentation set on here that you just did?
The slides, I'll go ahead and put those here. Right now, they're part of the meeting packet for this meeting, which has been on different places on the website. But honestly, I'll just put it right here. If it's easy for me. I'll do it right now. The only thing that's not on there, are these posts here. I need to spend them this afternoon. I'll add those things. I'm gonna take pictures right now.
I didn't think about
And so then
My name's Jeff.
Yeah, you and I talked before, Mike.
we're not waiting out Absolutely. Let's go get this started. I can give you one of the cards there.
Hey,
Yeah. Well, they changed, the council just voted to change the slogan back to getting rid of ballot.
Thanks.
Good
We're
news.
Matter of fact, I said it. A page and a half. Okay, buddy.
All right, nice to see you. Gray water state, like recycled gray water.
And then they're legally doing that, then they legally have to hook up to the switch. They have to lay the pipe when they build out. And they have to hook up as soon as that year, however many. So,
And they can do that right now.
yes, yeah.
They want to.
Temporary, wastewater facility, that in the about the MBR?
No, I'm actually, this is my third time this side.
I didn't know. Okay.
Appreciate it.
Everybody on the they know the difference. My brother. He's been there like 15 years, so he's been there for a long time. Never been set.
I love it.
Pardon?
Oh. Yeah. There's a lot there.
I can't imagine. That has never been part of That's why I'm kind of thinking. This slide isn't here where we thought it And that might be let me try yeah. I'm just gonna have some questions about awareness.
I think I watch her a lot about like,
Yeah, it is million.
Yeah.
So how is that?
Yeah, so, you know, there is a mechanism Thank you. So everything that goes. Groundwater. But has a large equalization.
Would we ever get to a situation where all possibility to
Well, so say there's a 100-year storm, you know, greater than,
yeah,
so, yeah, so everything that comes into the plant has to be pumped through the treatment process. And the pipes that come through the plant, the area is so most, and I'm not familiar with any collections, but if the city is under very extreme situations like that, you might have a, I'm panicking somewhere. We're out of the system and that handle it. Yeah.
But I would like to manage that.
Right, yeah, but none of that would go to the aquifer. Because
they didn't, it wasn't, it's not separate, they just basically kind of, think of it as like raising the walls. It's gallons, but let me get a expanding the EP basin, added how many gallons of capacity?
I think we added 900,000 gallons.
So around a million.
Yeah, that's overflow that
It's still
Still
utilized.
use that.
900.
We added approximately 900,000 gallons.
900,000 gallons, okay.
I think some of this, like.
Your ability to keep numbers is astoundingly cool.
They've got, they're after
Only treated water.
Well, but my statement is
So I
true.
It's a sick problem. Immediately fail. Yeah, but you can like craft a real nice legal letter so fast. Different skills. Yes.
Speaking of which, can you deliver the bad news a little bit about Senate Bill? Even if it's just, we're gonna follow up with a memo.
I think the idea was, I'm gonna highlight. Got it to the drafts already, so it's just the meeting's all problems before it's set. Have it just in a jar on the table. Yeah. I know.
Can you imagine this?
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, I think we're talking of like, you know, the news stories. Everything is full, like, you know. Yeah.
What is
So, basically, the investment we've made in the septic system, actually didn't have to use it. It was very disappointing. It's new and shiny, we wanted to put up the water. And,
It's an open house.
Street flooding. Flow rate. I worked with reviewing.
It's for the wastewater. We're now.
Actually got this.
Are very interesting.
I mean, and we do have. also has a combined sewer system.
And they.
It's fast.
No, it's not complete, it's not well, because, and they're not sprayed.
My question. He was gonna respond, I had text, but.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
And so.
It's a fact.
What, you guys just hung out or what?
No, I mean,
We can get this stuff in.
Oh, no, I would.
What's he say about that?
This isn't something we can-
Coffee and all kinds of stuff to the
Yeah.
city world. And they've been very kind, very nice, respectful, and trying to work from home. And I've been very patient too.
That does sound good. I don't remember where it goes. 4th of July was up there every year.
Used to be a really good spot. Right over the bridge there.
All of a sudden it's gone.
Are you familiar with the aquifers?
That's why we're all the.
In the area.
So
language.
That's very
like, we knew that that's what we had, but it was But I think that's really, yeah, but I don't. Well, we didn't think it was water.
Oh.
They used to with that hot house.
And so, kind of what
Josh, I didn't catch what you said. I think you said somebody wants to drink it.
Well,
Is that what you said? Because I've been saying that for years now.
if the water is as good as I think it is, bringing it to one of these meetings, and just like, have the mayor drink some, and like,
I've been, because we talked about making videos for years, and I was like, there's no way out of this project without somebody drinking it on camera in a video. It's gonna happen.
yeah.
Everyone says no, keep telling them they're wrong.
I mean, it would silence a lot if it's as good as I think it is.
Absolutely. I took a tour, so I grew up in Southern California, where it's been done for a long time. And I took a tour of the wastewater treatment plant near UC Irvine in my environmental studies class, whatever. And at the end of the tour, the dude took a drink. I was like, yeah,
Makes an impression.
yes, I still remember it to this day.
I was telling Tyler, actually, it reminds me a little bit of the conversation that happened a bunch of students in water the first time, like, 20 years ago. They were hearing about policies for so long, and they don't understand. People are actually because this technology is so great that it's pure, cleaner, fresh water.
And the other thing is for the health of the Clackamas River and its tributaries, there's gonna come a time where they're gonna see our efforts better. And they're almost gonna wish more of it was going into the creek, like that's gonna come. It's just, it's gonna take them 10 or 20 years to get there.
I live over on the other side. So absolutely right.
Which one? Well, I like two different.
Well, yeah.
Right.
So maybe one last
But I feel way better.
This one's good to see you. Thank you.
We're really excited about this process. So
What are the drawbacks?
I know, that's a question.
Like,
from just my
Yeah.
perspective of not doing.
The other thing is that we can get
Getting the state to go ahead and listen to our needs.
But either option you do, the memorandum has to
Because we're kind of.
Well, then wouldn't that save you a ton of money? Not doing that then? If you didn't have to do it. Why, is it just because they have to treat it? What if it was treated sewage that they were doing?
We would,
There's one
we would
over
say it
in-
would be more expensive if we have to treat it.
So
So it is kind of an.
That's one.
14 miles of pipe. You have to double do it because.
Oh, they're gonna
Yeah,
double do that
yeah,
pipe.
that one I think.
They're gonna double do my pipes. They're gonna double do-
And so because it's under pressure.
They also.
Ours is under pressure too. Ours is under pressure, that's why.
Well, I think that's not. I mean, if you treat the water. Well, I know that it was, is it going through, what I'm saying is that not, when this gets fancy stuff, when the pipe you know, it'll be.
So that would be the Olympic.
Until they can't. Well, no, I'm saying that, this isn't like a lifetime thing.
Oh, okay. So
It's
you're
only gonna be
Yeah.
just so much, it's just saying, just like it's always been.
Yeah.
Since I was.
Yeah, that's where we are.
They've never done anything with the infrastructure enough, you know, the amount of people that are flushing their toilets and the water that's coming off the streets. We've never had enough, we've never done anything to, we haven't done.
He's probably reconstructed the whole. That was the last 25 years, and so.
So
Again,
still,
you know, big repairs.
And this is, I mean, this is a facility plan.
Yeah,
Well, we,
But
but
we-
and like AJ was saying, you know, one of the things
How long
that's
have
nice
you
about
been fined
this
for
is that
this?
no
I know it's
matter
not a
what
moratorium,
of
but how
those
long?
options end up
They've
being.
been
Well,
fined
it's
for
taking
making
control.
sure.
The NVR plant was the same for all of them, you know, city
And
can go ahead
so,
and start
and
doing
we
that
we
work.
see the, so one of the things that's
Money that's available, get that going.
Because it drives you crazy, is that, okay, so it's April 45th and it's raining outside.
How do you guys feel?
Yeah, it was much, yeah.
Yeah.
We,
So,
I've had just. Water.
well, we'll be very transparent with what's
They
coming
run
at us.
They run.
And meetings are always open, they're open in person or virtually.
Now,
What happens is
Not
from May
on
first.
phone, but yes,
what happens is.
when I do Zoom, I'm not having a great day, I was tired. So talk to me now. This is what I'm doing.
I used to work with my wardrobe goes in my pajamas. They only can hear it.
So you're welcome to, you know, send us questions or email or the website.
My son-in-law will probably like, be like, well. Pretty significant.
AJ's here, we can email Tyler Dean, as the janitor, Dr. Crosby. They're always If you get one, if you get some, I mean, what makes sense, I don't remember you say that first. Yeah, because it's like, so.
Yeah.
So I could. Yeah, we're always here, any questions?
Yeah.
Put it on the Colorado Road, but just kind of.
You have a fiber now.
Oh, yeah. Good, Sandy messaged us.
Still our information.
Yeah.
So they get,
So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, please ask questions, don't assume somebody, what they're saying on the line is. Right, and that's kind of really hard to. Implicit, but you can't know what you don't know, you can't predict what you don't know. And so that's kind of what we have to go, that means, I think my best, we're gonna do our best. We can't see things anywhere but in
Up and down, everybody in that area is on well.
Thank you.
But also, I can worry about this, I'm not worried about this. He says it's not. But yeah. Oh, in the groundwater. I have several windows on my property year round. Dry up. And there's no being treated sewage on the groundwater, or even if you put it down a ways, is that's gonna take a lot of. I don't. I can't really. What I'm saying is that.
I mean, nobody's getting bending, monitoring it and all that.
You know what I would agree with? Yeah, you guys drink that water every single day and that it's clean before you put it in. I also want you that every single day from here. Because you don't. But are you actually the ones that are being affected by it? I work in the blue. That's what they do. Well, that's beside the point. What you're trying to do is we're just trying to stay on path of and what it's going to do and what that water is going to be like somewhere down the road after you put all this stuff into it. Like I don't think there's enough studies that can say that it's okay to do this like long-term effect. How is that? Not very long. You don't 20 years. Washington just said still, it doesn't. Why would you want to? Right? That's what I said. Right? Sure. No, not really. Where's the clean water? Down there.
Oh, yeah, right.
It's not contaminated. My well is 200 feet in the ground. It doesn't have groundwater in it, right? Does it? Well, I mean, it doesn't have contaminated water that you're gonna put, like my well's 200 feet down. And of course, the well is up on the top part of the top or whatever. But I always tell the guy, I can wash your car and there's not one single speck on my car. I can drink water through my thing and it's just when I go to the restaurant, I can't drink water. I can't drink the water from different people's wells that are different, that have. Yeah, some have iron or whatever. Mine, right here, it's just so here. And I've been very, very nice. And I've cooperated in everything. As long as it's helping out, that's okay. Start messing with my water. I'm not gonna bounce back from some water that might get contaminated versus my 30-year-old son. Something like, you know what I mean? Like there's a difference of how your immune system works as you get older. And so then I begin to, and I was so happy when I thought you guys were gonna do something, to Gresham or, and then you're still gonna get, when you treat that water, you're still gonna have extra stuff, right? That you can't.
That's exactly what we do. So we know where
The water, but you're basing that on your machine. Where the level of the aquifer is.
So this.
There's alternatives.
I want you to know all the ingredients. Because you know what, I've seen that, it's like Aaron Brockovich, you know, it's like, here, you guys go ahead, you make all these big decisions, you go ahead and you drink this water first, it's not gonna affect you, it's gonna affect me. I'm like the audience of watching this.
I want to sell the house.
As we put this on.
That's, you look at the.
Well, this is the thing, A8 plus water is, it's not, but it's not the water that's in there. No, in my,
Yeah, I'll show you what you guys believe, what I'm saying is this, water.
Whatever.
Yeah, I can understand why we should.
well, I get more in there, I get more in there, there's no sidelines where there should be, but there's been huge flows. I mean, I can see it from my driveway going down, and there's rapids. You know, and it's like, oh, man, yeah, something, or whatever, you know? Well, that is
Why can't we set that back in? It's cleaner than what's in.
That's something that you would have to go to the legislature of the state or DEP or whoever's running that, get that to change.
But that won't have to- so it's like it doesn't make any sense. The creek is drying out. And
So why are they saying it's only the water? So it's not based on the water. Or is it just what? whatever.
How are you?
Good.
Sends them.
What, bored with your Monday?
So submit that to the state and say, look, when we're doing this, and it's after May 1st, why aren't we
I was smart
able
enough.
to? When I have these numbers.
We've got one part of the equation.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, like, you plug in this little thing and it's
I think.
We've got the other thing that was a sensor that corrects streets.
What is the pre-basic? Why we call it pre-basic? We can bring all our.
Yeah, I go to Eric's
It's
easier to send, yes.
When did this happen?
So those bases that are land based, the geology, the basins, the formations of the land, not of the water.
That's the good.
Right.
One of the same, so the surface of the water.
Yeah, so you take a creek to Deer Creek to Clackamas, and then out whatever. To get
And so that will go back and forth.
And nobody's ever tried to fix that.
I like you.
Our
thing.
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah.
And here's Melissa and Maria will be there because Kate doesn't know. What's her son's name? They were told they couldn't put any more septic tanks in and they couldn't build a place.
Basically, our push was for that.
Nobody else in the way. So have you been talking to the state of Oregon and geologists that are within the area that you're talking about?
Because he has
Well, I guess maybe that's below. I guess, I would say above towards the treatment plant from my place and below would be down.
Sure.
So downstream of Isley's is where you were saying today, that you were thinking of going ahead and drilling this thing on that side, over there. Okay, so from that, have you talked to any geologists in the state of Oregon, or have you looked at these maps that show the water corridors that are right where you're proposing? Or is that gonna be changed depending on which aquifer that you, and is there more than one?
So personally.
especially. I can't tell you what.
There's a father of 4 daughters, I had one of them that wanted to play the
Is there
ball.
anything standing something, or is it boring something?
I think it was the morning.
Because I think,
Testing me.
well, I know that there's a boring one and there's a standing one, and I think, and I believe I'm on the boring.
But is that because of it's just, you know, the area, and are they connected or that's got, I.
And that was my whole point, is that I realized you were one, and I don't mind, you know, having some sort of moving forward for this, to try to do something, treated sewage, and if it's gonna be better, but I get a little antsy when you're talking about moving it down into water, you know, rather than, if you're getting it so clean, why can't it go back into,
Good for him.
you know, Tickle Creek or down Deep Creek where they're low on water or whatever? I mean, why is it you go down to the pier, it's so pure?
Going to one. It's not easy to build. It's not easy.
And you think they're gonna be after?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Well, or partway down.
Have they already gave you kind of a green light?
We had a meeting.
Basically,
Oh, boy. Yeah, have fun.
So, where you're sitting on, the A option is like going partway down versus the A plus going all the way down. Your preference would be partway down.
Well, I don't know that either one of them is great. I mean, I'm not real sure. Because first of all, how much groundwater actually can make? You know, I mean, I wonder, you know, I've got wet spots on my land all year, you know, from whatever. But, there's springs and all kinds of stuff. You know, I don't know how many aquifers are in that area and where you might get to. And there's only just a couple big
No place
ones
to grab a
that
hand on that.
you're gonna run into, you know, if it's.
That's not funny
That's
at all.
pretty big.
We have that flights in the 12 we have that whitish gray layer that's part of the project.
Kind of, I guess, that's when you go up to my house, but when you're down below, that's so different, right down below is where some of the west parts are, right next to the gate. Right next to the gate there. I
don't know why.
I guess right there.
I know.
So that would be right there. You know what I mean? That's wet, right, like all the time, so there are places that it's not.
I don't eat pizza. Very, 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 very.
So
rarely.
basically, this is weird scenario here. You're pushing in one solution.
Did you?
I'm more a day taking 3 years.
I haven't either.
Normally, this would come out and then.
This is kind of a waste of money.
Real work get and
Because
figured out all the way.
I've packed it around, it stays in my car, and I've never eaten it.
I have the same box and I know that at my house.
I know.
We've spent millions of dollars.
No, I know.
Solutions.
It's all been.
You're
saying we've done pretty well, but.
I mean,
It's the
I
same
don't
gateway. As far as.
No, I can't take this anymore.
Aquifer.
This is a waste of money.
Through your current state gateway, with the adoption.
Hmm?
And your current state gateway.
They went Mount Hood, they should.
The old ones?
No, no, they don't. Yeah, that's why they did it. What do I do instead? Not be here on Monday nights. That's what I'm gonna do instead. Doing something else.
You just said.
That Christian one, you're.
I was telling Chris, I'm
I'm gonna be with you.
Hello? You know, honestly, however long it is, I mean, that was so clear that there isn't going to be, because if there is going to be a break in that pipe.
That was the one thing.
Because a 9-inch pipe, when it has a break, pretty much is, you know, it's just.
I don't think you're hearing that.
Yeah, the white pipe that's coming out of there.
I don't know, maybe because you do.
No, I
They
didn't.
don't.
Is there anything going for?
I'm sorry.
We don't have.
I was gonna say, the reason why I say that is because it was an odd number. Maybe you'd have to order a clear back piece, and then I think it's now really.
Oh, the word,
It's, so one advantage, and I know
Where my hand is.
way away from the. You know,
I didn't think about it.
this pipe
I don't
really
know.
needs place and I've been watching. It would have been better sooner, but it's very expensive.
It's a matter
Like
of.
2 miles of pipe, we're gonna get rid of it if it's in there.
Was that your thing?
I sat right where Dom. I switched the side of the tires.
Yeah.
I mean, it's because of, you know, how it goes.
Well, we heard you.
The best part about this, I think, like this.
Yeah.
But because of more tourists were saying how that is more. Oh, I think that one person, that was the person selling selling their house down the street.
It looks better.
So this is probably not, because I want to buy the leads and I need some of that funds The question is, what job do I choose, the one I'm in or the one I'm being offered? When I'm being offered to Portland too, is in Portland.
So
But I'm not gonna be
everybody what's going on, because everybody else.
It's tough to be independent. You want.
You know what?
It's a pretty volatile person, so I work in I'm a regional operations manager.
Say what?
I have 104 stores in 7 Pacific Northwest states. Here in Colorado, South Dakota, Montana, Idaho, Washington.
And I've been.
I travel. Not Utah. I always search Utah.
So.
We don't have an argument.
So how do we get the correct information?
It's with another tire company that that started in.
So we've heard that
Not much well.
the Amazon has to stay there because they're not.
I never have. So,
We've heard.
but one of my old bosses
So,
just
is
took
it
over that, the
because-
CEO of that company.
So if we found.
He reached out to
something-
me a month ago prior to becoming the CEO. Said, "Hey, I might have
I
something."
could go in, I could go knock,
Yeah.
knock, who's there? Show me a cup of the
What
water,
are the
you're
chances
gonna
of
put it in
us
my well.
having to do it?
It's on the last one.
Right? Because,
President of the
because I should be like, well, grandfather did.
And, you know, yeah, I mean.
How many
Nobody knows
pieces
that.
of fake coffee?
It's a lot more money. We can see, figure out how to budget that.
Too bad you can't stay. I think you know, and I figure, I, great, because right now, my freaky gets down. It was falling a stream.
Right now, though, it's about work life, because right now I only work Monday through Friday, so I'm off every Monday. Essentially, and I can pretty much do whatever I want, whenever I want. So I want to make sure that it's the same flexibility.
That was, and the whole way
I
that
do
it
want to
was,
get at least a
I
couple
mean,
times a year.
travel's expensive, you know?
So I was in Belize a few weeks ago.
Every word's broken.
4 weeks ago, I'm going back in November, so.
Okay, stable property, and I'm not sure it's the property, it's the great property.
No.
Raising kids.
Grandma's house is and the little grass right there, just using that property.
They won't blow up over
Because
there.
the person. What happens, where is the and we wanted to do.
My company quit doing that.
I probably hand out one of those.
Putting on processing.
I mean, and I don't hand out any.
I wish I had.
So not.
So, like on here, had, that like a property, where, like, I don't even.
Yes.
Where's I, or the height, and where's my property?
So your property is.
So I hand out there. Oh, yeah, because this is the treatment.
Profit. Oh, so you don't have.
This
one
might be able to
that
capture a little
wanted
bit
to do
better,
it.
but
They have better
I.
chances than you know, that's very good.
AJ, you want me to pull up a map here?
Shirley's daughter reached out to me.
You need a
I
map?
must have like, just like,
Her niece.
or her niece.
Yeah.
I must have just like,
I just.
fat fingered a number or something.
Oh,
Yeah,
You wanna come over here for a second, show you
Last week
now?
and gave her your number.
yeah, she called me.
Oh, good.
She's,
Like, I'm
Shirley didn't, but her niece did.
I'm
She,
very nice.
she's definitely
really do.
not sure about what she's doing.
So,
So,
help me out, AJ.
she did ask a couple questions.
That's the plan,
There's the
yes?
plant, we need to scroll that way. and get to-
She sounds young.
So there we go.
Yeah.
One of the biggest.
Raised
Goes like
kind of
this.
Oh.
hands off.
Okay, where's my place?
I
So
think you were saying that.
I think that
She figures it out. How old is she?
I'm right at the end, where the
17
bridge
or
is. Where's the
So
bridge?
she's still pretty young.
Yeah.
Here's Stickle Creek.
There's
Okay,
Colorado.
right here. So I'm right here.
That's you?
I'm here. Yeah, so here's where the pipe goes.
Right.
across,
Yeah, I
underneath,
hope she
and you know you're going
goes a
underneath.
direction that's gonna make sense for the
Yep.
future.
The bigger we can.
And they.
17 and 18.
But under there,
Life.
how many breaks have we had there?
Too many, especially.
Too many, yeah. Yeah, so.
Well, the fire service, to get
And then-
into the
and
fire
then
service.
so now
she didn't ask
Isley-
me too many, like, direct questions. I told her to call me
Okay,
anytime.
and you're talking about
Um,
putting it,
And we're looking at this region.
Yeah,
over
work
here.
again.
oh, so it's gonna be a whole nother deal? Look at how big they
I think
are.
she's
We're
quite,
gonna put those.
I think she's highly
It's
intelligent.
just, it's just a matter of what she wants to put her mind to.
Just,
Yeah. Well, that's hard. I think that's hard for anybody if you
Okay,
even raise.
they were asking about what if I sold.
We tend to, people that I know, they give up easy. Corporate, it gets.
Company on the East Coast.
That's too
So
much.
somebody had said, what happens if they stop in?
Yeah, and that's what her sister
You know,
passed
so like,
on.
is that, but that was one.
I mean, she had,
Right, it's like,
Just between-
didn't they say that?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
those
well,
are-
they
that was-
Just so you know, with this everything.
I don't.
You know, with the situation. we have now-
Aaron. Aaron Brockovich, you too.
That's okay.
yeah, I hope she
With the-
gets a direction and it's a good one. Sort of work. I think these are the redone ones.
Oh,
wait a second.
They are.
But I didn't get around a while, so.
I've maybe handed out two in 8 years,
You've given out two?
maybe.
LOC, I gave out a few, mostly in the raffle. A few to people here, a few to a couple of the town things that we did down in But, yeah, up the stack, you know, and probably half those got destroyed by hanging around my coat.
Piece of paper, Mayor.
Anyway, that's just, I almost didn't come, but I had to just see it and I realized that.
Stop it, guys. Get a break.
The osmosis in the carpet. One that's gonna. So. There's a lot of them.
You want a step post? Ready? 503-489-2163.
Like what?
Jeff? Is this a public meeting? Yeah. It's just been an open house. Yeah.
So your door's always open. Hey.
Even though she's not out again, just, we're doing it.
You just told her, yeah, just look at
Very well. Oh, no.
Lori. How later are you gonna be here? How, Lori?
I don't,
Want me to carry something?
and so I told, I just got done telling Chris, I think at 10 o'clock, whether we're done or not, I just might leave. I get up at 3:30.
Hey, Tyler, just to let you. We never ended up. All those materials, so the board's not getting up on the website.
Just so you know. I don't know why they're trying to throw in.
Immediately some results are in, so.
Things off the agenda. I tried to put me in research. School council, which is big books.
That was coming somewhere else.
That's funny. And then hopefully it's, energize CD work, have those two.
Dropped your gavel again. Dang it.
Like take that instead of. Or strap.
It's not on there.
Little dust over it.
What's that?
It is, it's on a separate.
It's that's what I said, it's not on the city council.
I bring the city council meeting to order. Can we start with the pledge of allegiance, please? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jeff, could you please take roll?
Yes, Counselor Mayton.
Present.
Counselor Smallwood.
Yep.
Counselor Sheldon.
Here.
Counselor Ramsey.
Here.
Counselor Hanley.
Here.
Dr. Hokinson. Mayor Walker.
Here. In a minute. Our agenda, I'll go through that next. We've got, the first thing on the agenda are the approval of minutes from our November. Oh, wait, that's sorry.
I would approve those.
Okay, there we go. Sorry about this. There we go. The agenda today is that we have public comments, response to previous comments, the consent agenda with the previous meeting minutes on it, the a resolution for being able to collect state shared revenue. And then on our order of business, we have resolutions including a public hearing for the revised moratorium planning for future capacity. Old business has us hearing more about the Clackamas County Transportation Management Plan comments from Clackamas County after we send in our comments. After that, we have the city code changes for nuisances, including solicitation and noise. And our new business is approval of on-call construction services cap increase. We have reports from the city manager and committee council reports. And then after that, after the city council meeting, we do have an urban renewal meeting after that. So, all right, are there any changes to the agenda? Hearing none. Let's start with public comment. So this is an opportunity for anybody who wants to comment on anything to please come on up. You may, if you're attending the meeting in person, I've got at least one. If you want to talk, other than that, let's see, June's scheduled. She may or may not come up to speak. But is there anybody else in the audience that might want to speak? And if you're attending the meeting on Zoom, did we get anybody?
We did have one. We had two, but then the second person told me that they didn't have a question anymore. But we do have Dave Vandehey who had
Oh, very good.
registered to speak.
Very good. Okay. So June, did you want to come up and talk?
I think we're okay.
Okay, very good. In fact, Kelly, he's in the room. He's in the back row there. That's it. So,
Thank you.
okay, so there's no, so let's go ahead and go to Dave, please.
Okay. Mr. Vandehey, you should be able to unmute yourself now. go ahead and please state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Just making sure you guys can all hear me.
I'm going to turn you up. Okay, try that, Dave.
How about now?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, Dave Van Hay. Thank you for this opportunity to address you, Mayor and councilors. I provided testimony during the public hearing on April 6th regarding the STC methodology and fee increases. And during that testimony and via a letter, I requested an extension to our land use approval for Bull Run Terrace and an extension to the ERU allocation timeline. Given that these requests were not directly related to the agenda item that evening, I want to take the opportunity this evening to make that request again standalone in hopes of receiving a response at the next meeting. You guys are all familiar with our project, Bull Run Terrace. This is the project that dedicated parkland to make Deer Point Park possible. We'll extend to Barco Road and connect it to Highway 26, and will provide up to 200 housing units for the residents of Sandy. Unfortunately, our land use approval for Bull Run Terrace expires on December 5th of this year, which is less than 7 months from now. Due to an unprecedented path for development in Sandy over the last few years, including moratoriums, historical STC fee increases, we have had to hit pause several times on this project, and as a result, we will not meet this deadline. Many years and significant investment of time and money was poured into this project before ultimately receiving approval of the project that provides significant benefit to the city. We are still currently at an impasse figuring out how we can make this project financially viable, given the challenges ahead of us with higher overall construction costs and higher STC fees. However, we would like at least the opportunity to attempt to see that through. We do appreciate the adjustment to the water STC fees that occurred at that same meeting on the 6th. And I'm hopeful, after learning of the city's current potential approach for the wastewater system, that there could possibly be an adjustment to the wastewater as well. So we continue to have hope for our project that we've been working on for a very long time. The city has invested a lot of their time as well into this project. And as a result, I would just hate to see this project wither away and die. So I'm requesting that you grant Bull Run Terrace a 2-year extension of its land use approval to give us the necessary time to figure out the current financial challenge, complete engineering, design review, etc. This project provides unique benefits to the city, which I feel justifies some unique treatment. Alternatively, this project dies and all of our and the city's time and effort to get it to approval is wasted. The Barker Road doesn't get extended and additional needed housing is not built. And as you consider this, I look forward to hearing a response, hopefully at the next meeting. And just would like to understand, if this is not granted, why, and what. I'm just trying to wrap my head around what the harm would be in extending our approval to try to figure this project out. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any response from previous comments?
We had no previous public comments during the general public comment period.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So we're at the consent agenda, which again are the meeting minutes from our last meeting, and the resolution 2025-14 to allow the city to collect state shared revenue, which includes the liquor and cigarette taxes and things like that. May I get a motion to adopt the consent agenda, please?
I'll make a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
Second?
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion. I'm having trouble with that word tonight. I have a motion from Councilor Sheldon and a second from Councilor Ramsayer to adopt the consent agenda. All those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, vote nay. Motion passes. Our next item on the agenda is new business, is the resolution 2026-04, the revised moratorium planning for future capacity. We have the staff report here. And is that Josh or?
Do you have the script there, Mayor? For the
Okay,
public?
okay. Sorry. Okay, so for folks in the audience or online, the opportunity to offer public testimony for this hearing will occur after the staff report concludes. So our first step will be to open the public hearing for resolution 2026-04 at 7:09. Are there any abstentions to declare? Hearing none. Are there any conflicts of interest to declare? Hearing none, may we please hear the staff report?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'll keep this a brief, high-level overview of this issue, and I'm happy to answer any questions. I understand we have some comments and testimony as well this evening. So this resolution would adopt the fifth major iteration of the city's development moratoria, since the initial one was adopted back in October of 2022. Each successive version of that moratorium has provided additional flexibility and changes based on the city's experience with the moratorium to date and changing circumstances. The driving factor behind this particular version of the moratorium is that the city anticipates during the term of this moratorium receiving approval from EPA and DEQ to allow additional connections to the city's wastewater treatment system based on some significant work that the city has been doing to improve its treatment plant capacity in the interim until that long-term solution can be brought online. And so once that capacity becomes available, the city needs some sort of a method for determining who's going to get access to that capacity. Up until this point, the city has not had any capacity beyond what was necessary to address developments that had already submitted for land use approval prior to the first moratorium. So this will be the city's first opportunity to provide capacity to new projects. And so the major change in this version of the moratorium is to put in place what's being called a development allocation program, which sets out the framework for distributing those ERUs of additional capacity for both residential and economic development projects based on an analysis that's attached to the moratorium of the relative needs for residential versus economic development growth within Sandy. And then dividing those into different pools for how the city will distribute them, some on a first come, first served basis with certain criteria, and others for residential in particular, a lottery system. In addition to that change, this would also align the expiration dates of existing ERU allocations through one final extension and add some language clarifying provisions regarding ERUs that have been set aside for emergency purposes like failed septic systems, and a very small number that are remaining in the duplex pool the city previously created, and some minor housekeeping and clarifications throughout. That is all I had to do to introduce the issue. Happy to answer any questions now or after public comment.
Will you I missed it. You said there was an extension to current ERU allocations. What was that one more time?
Right. So the way that the system is currently set up, the ERUs allocations that occurred, their expiration varies depending on when they submitted an application and received approval. So, and they have an existing extension available to them under the existing framework. What this would do is that one remaining extension would remain in place, but it would align all of their expiration dates to be on the same date, which is December 31st of 2027.
Does that help this gentleman that spoke to us tonight?
He's requesting more extension.
More beyond that. Okay, thank you.
And did you mention the land use versus the ERU?
Right, so that's just for the ERU extension, not for the land use approval, which is, he's requesting both land use and ERU extensions, which would, the land use one in particular would require a separate action. Thank you.
I think there's gonna be other questions. Do we want to go ahead and get to the public hearing first? Tyler?
Or like Josh said, we're happy to answer some additional questions now, or we can just, move right into the public comment, get that testimony, and then answer.
Let's do public comment, because I think there's several questions. Okay, for the purposes of for the process for public testimony, each person providing testimony must provide their name and address for the record. If you do not wish to state your address publicly, you must provide it to the city recorder before you begin your testimony. This can be done either in person or via email at recorder@ci.sandy.or.us. If you have documents that you wish to be considered to the council by the council, they must be informally placed into the record of this hearing. To do that, either before or after you speak, email your materials to recorder@ci.sandy.or.us. Please try to avoid repetition. If someone else has already expressed the same thoughts, it's fine to simply state that you agree with the testimony of a previous speaker. To offer public testimony, for those joining us in person this evening, please raise your hand to indicate you would like to speak. If you're attending online, please click the raise hand button and wait to be recognized. If you are attending via telephone, please dial *9 to raise your hand and wait to be recognized. I will call on each person when it is their turn to speak. Each speaker will receive up to 5 minutes to testify, and the city recorder will let you know when you have 20 seconds remaining. So is there anyone here tonight in the room that would like to testify on this? Great, okay.
I'm gonna move the podium there for you. I should have brought it out, but sorry about that.
Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Ray Moore with All County Surveyors and Planners. For the record, PO Box 955, Sandy, Oregon.
Darren Clow, owner of All County Surveyors, same address, 955, Sandy, Oregon.
So I think in your packet, I don't know, have you all had a chance to review the letter? So I won't go into that in a lot of detail, but just briefly, section 10D3 of the proposed ordinance, one of the requirements is that all of the property or anybody entering the lottery, the property has to already be annexed to the city. So we have developers that have called us that have property inside their urban growth boundary, ready to annex, but they probably wouldn't enter this, or they wouldn't annex just to enter this. So we're just asking that that section be modified to allow property that's inside the urban growth boundary that can be annexed to at least enter the lottery with the contingency. If you get the lottery, you need to annex it. So
Yeah, I was a prime example of that. We have a property over here on 362nd, my wife and I, that we would like to develop into the pre-app on the property already, but with the moratorium, we're kind of standby. We're ready to annex. We'd love to annex, but we can't. I mean, we kind of can, but doesn't make any sense to annex. But it makes sense to annex if we can get in on the lottery. So we're queued up, ready to go if we can somehow be part of the lottery.
So, yeah, anybody have any questions or? All right.
Okay.
Great. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else here in the room to testify? Do we have?
We do have one. Yeah.
Okay.
Dave Van Hay has his
Okay.
hand up.
Good.
Uh,
Hi, Mr. Van de Hey, go ahead, and Jeff should be able to give you the microphone. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you again, Dave Van Hay, Cornelius, Oregon. On this item, I definitely appreciate the city's desire to ensure maximum possible fairness and certainty under the circumstances to accommodate development needs of the city. While the proposed approximate 6-month extension of ERU allocations is appreciated, it's just not enough time. Of course, if we are not granted an extension of our land use approval, which I mentioned earlier, then it's basically irrelevant. But I am requesting that the city work collaboratively with us in a joint effort to bring needed housing to Sandy. This would include the previously requested extension to our land use approval and a 2-year extension of our ERU allocation. We have a lot of work to complete before being ready to pull permits and utilize our allocated ERUs. We really need that additional time. Bowen Terrace offers the single largest opportunity to provide needed housing to the city during a challenging development moratorium. The project was approved. We are now just asking you to work with us on predetermined timelines through an unprecedented challenges to see it through. If Bowen Terrace dies due to expired timelines, what other projects are going to provide an opportunity for additional housing units during the development moratorium? Kind of same idea as with the land use extension, just understanding what harm is caused by granting a longer extension to the ERU allocations to give us an opportunity to see this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Van de Veen. Is there anybody else?
That's the only hand that was up. Yeah.
Okay, and no phone calls?
Not today.
Okay, very good. Okay, can we get a recap from the staff, please, and a recommendation?
Don't have much to add in the way of a recap, but the recommendation is to conduct a public hearing, ask any further questions you have, and then adopt the resolution.
All right, thank you. May I have a motion to close the public hearing, please?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
I have a motion from Councilor Ramsayer and a second from Councilor Hanley to close the public hearing. All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, vote nay. All right, will pass. Public hearing is closed at 7:20. So questions and comments?
I guess Don usually starts it
Go
off. I do have a question pertaining to their the surveyor's gentleman's question. What's that?
The annexation.
The annexation, like what is the logic that it has to be within the city and that it can't be in the UGB, or even I would even go as far as like it can't be an island. I would understand that piece, an island annexation where it's separated, but I'm just trying to understand what the logic was in that.
Kelly, do you want to talk to that at all?
You'd like to come up here, please,
I guess I would suggest that probably one consideration there is that there's already land within city limits. And those folks have probably been wanting to develop their property for a longer period of time, and to address those first might be a motivating factor, but I don't have any policy preference on whether you allow new properties annexed or not, just that probably not enough capacity in the 190 ERUs to address everybody in the city who wants to develop and everybody in the UGB who wants to develop.
Well, and we only have, I mean, it's not 190 because we've got some of those set aside, most of those for otherwise.
So my answer would be very similar to Josh's. I think that when we were writing it, we were trying to anticipate what the city council would prefer, and maybe we hit it, maybe we didn't. But our thinking was exactly what Josh said, is we were trying to give preferential treatment, I guess I would say, to people that are already in city limits and have already been paying property taxes.
I can respect that.
If you decide that's not a good policy decision, I think it's easy enough to just do UGB instead of city limits. I would ask if we do, if you decide to change it to UGB for the residential lottery portion, I would ask that you change it also to that for the employment lands and the ADU one, because I think it will make it a lot easier for both staff to administer and the public to understand that it's consistent across.
I didn't quite.
If you do decide to change it, so it's not just city limits and it's any property in the UGB, I would ask for administration purpose of these different programs that we do it across all three for the ADUs, the residential lottery, and the employment land staff. I would ask that all three of them are changed to inside the UGB if we change any of them.
So if we were to keep this as written, I just want to make sure I'm understanding you correctly. Your belief or your understanding is, and you don't have to go into individual details, that there is enough land that is desired to be developed within the city limits of Sandy, currently within the city limits of Sandy, that would use up those allocated ERUs.
I mean, just based off of how many acres are already in city limits, yes. But I think, does that mean that those properties are the most ready to develop? That doesn't mean that at all.
Okay, I'm gonna, because I asked this question, I think last time, is have you done any outreach to see if those possible parcels are interested in developing?
The ones that are already in city limits?
Yes.
Well, I know that a handful of them are, and I know that one in particular on Jacoby Road that's owned by Corey Knight is because he's came and spoken to the city council, I think on at least 2 different occasions. So his would be about 28 or 30 ERUs, somewhere around there. And then, yeah, there's properties off of like Bell Road or Bell Street that are already in city limits that I think are prime for residential development. So yeah, I think you would get to you'd certainly get to your 42 ERUs very quickly. But even if some more are returned back to the city, I think we could get to 70 to 100 very quickly.
And refresh my memory, 42, does that include the 7 ADUs you've curved or 10 ADUs?
No, it'd be
7 ERUs, but 7 ERUs and 10 ADUs. That
So
you've
the-
carved out. Does that include that in the 42?
No, that's in addition to the 42. I mean, sorry if I'm misspeaking here, but I think it would be fine to change it to inside the UGB. I don't think it's that big of a deal one way or the other. I just think that if you do that, just be aware that you might get some people that complain that, I've been paying taxes all this time and I'm getting no preference.
And I think that's fair. I also don't want to miss out on opportunities outside if the availability is there. So since we're doing this as a lottery, I hunt, so that's what I use. Is there a way we could give a preference points or preference to city, and then if there's left over, then we could look to go out to outside? Is that possible to write that in there?
So
As a secondary lottery?
It would be possible to write that in there. I do also just want to clarify a couple of things. One is that if somebody is not yet annexed into the city and they're in the UGB, they can submit an annexation application tomorrow if they want to. And then they would be eligible for this. So that is an option. Another would be that this is the moratorium language we have now. We will be needing to revise this again in 6 months or a year, most
Or
likely. Or less. And so one option would be you do this lottery. And if this doesn't use up all of the ERUs, then the second time around, you do it for a broader pool that includes people who are just in the UGB. And you effectively would have it'd be 2 lotteries and there'd be a time delay, but you could do a first one for just within the city limits and then loosen the requirements the second time if you want to.
I think it's really, this is kind of where I've been struggling because I know there's folks outside the city limits that want to develop. And yet with only 42 ERUs, it's hard to think that there wouldn't be within the city limits already 42 applicants that, 42 ERUs worth of proposed development. But this is where this idea about, folks that have had these ERUs for quite a few years and still haven't broken ground on stuff and are sitting on, over 180 ERUs or whatever it is. That's kind of where it is hard to, if there's folks that want to develop, that's kind of where I struggle with giving more extensions to folks who have already had the ERUs when we've got folks chomping at the bit to get her done. And that's kind of where I could see doing this for the 42 ERUs or something, but then we do need to kind of have, there are some ERUs that we already have in place. I'm still a little bit confused about how the ERUs that have already expired which section did that get covered in clearly for me in this section, in this paper?
Right. So in the language for each section, so for example, I'll put up here the residential lands ERU section 10. It says in subsection A, this program applies to the distribution of 42 ERUs of the 190, plus any ERUs which are allocated under the third moratorium residential uses and for which that allocation has expired as of the date of notice of the ERU lottery. So at the time that the city starts the lottery process, there'll be a review of not just the 42 ERUs, but everything else that has come back to the city.
ERUs.
And those ERUs will then be included in that lottery. I do also, real quick, want to make sure I fully answered Councilor Sheldon's question. If the desire is to change city limits to UGB, that's an easy edit that we could just make on the fly here. If there is a desire to add a preference point system, we can absolutely do that, but that's a more involved rewriting. So I would suggest that we would continue this to the next meeting in that case.
And I would just add to that, if we do change to the UGB, we'd probably want to add additional language to say, and annexes in within X number of days, or submits an annexation application within X number of days.
Tyler just said exactly what I was going to say, because if you look at the, there's like a procedural section on how quickly people need to do things in the timeline, so we definitely want to add that into it.
So just for clarification, the hypothetical point is that is somebody who owns property who's not annexed doesn't pay city taxes. Once they annex, they pay city taxes and go to the lottery. They don't win the lottery. They now still have to pay city taxes.
So what,
That's the.
aren't you saying that if we wrote it so that people outside could apply in the lottery, and if they won the lottery, then they would be required to annex in with this 30 days or something like that? Isn't that what you said?
That's an option. Yes.
Yeah, I was asking from the original statement that we made was, and somebody asked, I wanted to make sure I was clear on how annexing
You're right.
worked for a property owner.
You are correct.
So, I mean, it makes no, I understand my property owner wouldn't want to pay right now, right?
Yeah.
Why annex unless I get it? But if you let me join the lottery and I win, then I'll annex within 5 days, or whatever the time frame is. That makes more sense to me.
So one of the options we have is to go ahead and open it up to folks outside the city limits. Another option is to wait until maybe we have this one expiration date for all these unbuilt ERUs and kind of open the door for outside city limits at that point.
Well, let me ask a question. So we've allocated commercial, residential. Let's say hypothetically, we open it up to the UGB and we have X amount that exceeds for residential, but we're not getting the commercial ERU that we thought we would. We have the option to allocate some of that commercial back over to residential, correct?
Correct, yes.
I'm okay with that.
That could be the next revision of the moratorium.
I do for this first one. I do think I very much respect and actually would like to honor what you guys said about this first go around for the people that are already in the city and that have been paying the taxes and enduring this silliness that we've been going through. That they have preference in this, at least in this first go around. I think that's fair. Now, anything after that, I think should be open to outside the city limits. And so whether that's done in the second one, I guess I don't know the time frame on the lottery and all of that. I also don't want to see this drug out for another 6 months. If there's ERUs that are able to be allocated, even if it needs to the UGB.
Right. So the timeline for the lottery is unknown because it's triggered by EPA and DQ releasing the 190. But once that happens,
Triggered by what?
when EPA and DQ release the 190 ERUs for the city to use, that's what the triggering event for starting the process for the lottery. But once that happens and you go through that lottery once, and you will get some more data about the demand level, then it could certainly come back for a revision, depending on the outcome.
And part of our desire to include this development allocation program now, even though we don't have those 190 yet, is so that when we do get the 190, we're not trying to scramble and do a new moratorium and implement a new program. We have months now to advertise this, let interested parties know that we have a plan in place going forward, and we'll just flip that switch as soon as those 190 ERUs are released. So it might seem a little bit cart before the horse, but there's some intentionality behind that.
Is there a clock for people that are awarded with the lottery of the ERU? Will the clock start once that ERU is given? So it's irregardless of whether it's within the city or outside the city. If you did for instance, go to the UGB and awarded somebody outside who annexed immediately, they are under the same clock, somebody who's in the city to build, and that's gonna generate revenue for the city. Is that correct?
Yeah, if you look at, for the lottery one, a good example would be if you look at page 61 of the packet. H,
Tell me what
section
section?
10H. That has a very detailed description of the timelines associated with lottery ERUs.
So pre-app, okay. Yeah, I remember we kind of put that in so they didn't just sit on them.
So that's what I was wondering is, because I hear what Counselor Sullivan is saying about people already paying taxes and a privilege. I'm just wondering, are they under the same, timeline as somebody else who might move faster, which would create more revenues for the city long term? I'm just wondering if there's a difference. Seems like they're both under the same guideline. Same clock.
And this moratorium, does this 6-month time clock of this moratorium take effect at those allocations, or is it after passing it? Does that make sense? Because you said this older thing is triggered once the DEQ releases the ERUs. Is that when this takes effect, or is it that?
So this moratorium takes effect upon enactment. And the 6-month clock under state law to look at it again will start tomorrow.
Okay.
But the lottery doesn't start until that approval happens.
Sorry, just one small correction. I think it starts on June 1st, according to section 17. Yeah.
Okay,
So
so
it starts on June 1st. But in 6 months from June 1st, on December 1st, you could extend it. Right.
Or we can modify it.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah.
Don, questions?
I have one more question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Somebody's
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Stay on.
Gosh, where'd it go?
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. My question was, I can't think of it right now, I'm on the spot. We'll come back.
We'll come back. Don?
I just, for the record, I want to address Dave Van Hayes' question that he phrased as what harm is there? I just wonder, from staff perspective, how would you quantify that harm to allowing additional extensions going beyond where he's at now, or for others in similar circumstances down the road? What's the downside to more generous or unlimited extensions?
If we keep allowing, so I think he makes a lot of great points, and I don't want to minimize any of them, and I believe he has been dealt an interesting hand, just with the economy and everything else.
For sure.
That being said, I think if we continue to grant extensions too far out, those 140 something ERUs that are currently allocated to Bull Run Terrace, they don't then have the chance to be reallocated for other development projects that may happen quicker. So I think that's the potential harm, is that we don't have other developers moving forward, and therefore we're not collecting SCCs for our much needed infrastructure projects and not fulfilling housing needs in Sandy. A lot of things, I think.
Now, he cited the park as one of the benefits already paid for, but wasn't there DeBarco traffic improvements down on 211 in DeBarco that were funded out of that agreement as well? Studies?
There was, that's a great memory on it. So one of the conditions in that land use decision was to give a proportional share fee to that intersection improvement. However, since they haven't actually moved forward with the development, they haven't actually paid it yet. The developer that did pay it so far was Cascade Creek off of Village Boulevard. So they did actually already make a payment to that proportional share fee. And that's actually what we're funding our current study with.
So one of the harms would be if they lose their ERUs, they can't move forward, that additional funding we'd have to find it somewhere else to complete that study.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And then obviously, as Dave correctly pointed out, is I think one of the biggest things is not having DeMarco Road extend through.
I want to clarify one thing. We have the funding to complete the study. It would be funding to actually implement the recommended approach.
Thank you.
And we'll be talking more about intersection of 211 and DeBarco this summer. I don't remember what date offhand we talked about, but we have August is what I wanted to say as well. So more to come on that
Can I just
topic.
hypothetically, just follow up on this one last follow-up, then with that property, if he loses his ERUs with that large quantity and this lottery system, I'm assuming he's unlikely to enter the lottery and get that kind of quantity of ERUs anytime in the future, pending our long-term solution. Is that a likely scenario?
Is he allowed to enter the lottery?
At some point, he would be, I would assume.
I don't think there's any reason he wouldn't be allowed to enter the lottery, if he doesn't have areas for the property.
Right.
But the likelihood that he would be awarded would basically be the likelihood that he's the first draw in the lottery.
And if he
Right.
was, then he might get all of them.
Could be all
Otherwise,
those back, yeah.
he gets a small percentage. So the reality is, in all likelihood, that project doesn't go forward until we get more,
Well, if he wins the lottery, at least there's some pretty big deadlines there that he's got to start breaking ground. Well, you know, you can't just sit on it.
And that,
I agree.
that's a great point, actually, because that's a really good point, because that actually restarts all the land use approval clocks in that scenario. Say if he was awarded the ERUs to the lottery, then the land use clock thing is not really a concern any longer.
Well, you're gonna roll over the land use.
No, he would start fresh.
Okay.
It'd be like a new land use approval.
So I think for me, I just acknowledge that it's not a great situation for him. But it's not a great situation for any of us or anyone else at this point. So thank you for answering those questions.
Chris had his.
Yeah, mine was about capacity. Kelly, maybe you can help me figure this one out. It was asked and answered that if we did the lottery and we didn't have enough participants to use all the existing residential ERUs, we could then allocate them to another portion or into from another area. My question is more surrounded around temperature, your thoughts. With the number of ERUs that we're putting forward in residential specifically, do you feel like those will all be consumed with the lottery and used within the time frame? Or do you think by opening it up to the UGB, we might get more potential builds in Sandy? I'm really just asking for your opinion.
I mean, if you open it to the UGB, you'll definitely get more potential builds. Because let's just assume with the projects that potentially can move forward in city limits, I'm just throwing a number out there. Let's say there's 6 projects. My assumption would be if you open it to the UGB, that project total probably doubles.
And each of these might have 50 to 100. I mean, if it's 10 acres, it's probably 100 houses, right? Even if it's single
That's a good
family,
question.
that's, you know, Bailey Meadows was 100 homes on, I think, 10 acres.
I think that might have been 20. I think,
Okay, yeah, whatever, yeah.
you're not far off though. I think with 5 acres, you might get 30 something houses. So it's
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna
maybe
go through
15
that pretty
houses,
quick.
15 acres.
I can't imagine there's not demand, there's not a demand for that in city limits. I think where I'd be kind of more likely to look at is, again, once we have. And the other thing was I'm gonna bring it up, but well, I don't want to interrupt yours. I'll bring it up later. But I just don't want you to forget the ones that have expired already that we have. That's another 22,
I don't know the exact amount, but it's 20 something.
20 something. So that might bring it to 60 something with my foot.
Oh, you did have one other point of your statement that I just want to clarify. So if we did decide after, say we do this program for a year or whatever it is, and we're not seeing as much movement as we'd like out of the employment lands, as Josh said, we could definitely change the moratorium in the future to reallocate more to residential. The trick will be doing it in such a way that it passes, like the mayor usually says, the smell test, as far as if you look at like Exhibit B that's associated with the resolution. I would really be interested to see anybody actually like challenge that methodology, because I think it actually holds up. So that would be the challenge, I think.
But I mean, my question is just more about seeking to understand for my own causation, trying to get on board with Council Shelton, but I just can't. I think I am gonna sit firm. I'm okay with expanding it to the UGB.
So,
And just to clarify, Josh and I had a sidebar. I think my statement earlier was actually incorrect. I think the timelines it does say land use applications, so you were saying you'd probably be comfortable with that remaining?
Yeah, I think the way it's written right now, if we're comfortable with this, but they would have to submit their application for annexation and for their subdivision or whatever else within the timelines spelled out here. So the existing timeframe could apply to.
Would that be a problem to process an annexation and
And that is the as written? Or-
As written, if you change it to UGB rather than city limits.
As written,
That would-
and we make the UGB change.
Right, then we wouldn't have to change the timeline portion of it. The only obstacle would be, sometimes developers want to do their annexation first to make sure they're gonna get annexed before they do all the work to put together the rest of the land use application, but given these unique circumstances, perhaps no.
I think they could just run concurrently too. They could be two separate land use apps running concurrently.
Don, did you have any more questions?
Probably, but it's.
I just had a quick, Haley, could you just review what does the annexation process look like? Is it a long process? Is it?
It's actually one of the easier processes that we deal with. And the reason why is because there's not like a bunch of criterion or a bunch of steps. The reason why it takes a little bit longer is because it has to go to a planning commission hearing. It's noticed to the state of Oregon at least 35 days before that hearing. And then after that hearing it goes to the city council. So in a lot of ways for like planners, it's kind of an easy process because there's not a big write-up on it. And really, we don't make the decision. We're just going to give a recommendation and then you folks get to make the decision. So I think it can be accomplished within the timeline set in this resolution.
But you raise a really good point, Commissioner Henley, because, yes, I call you Commissioner Counselor Henley. Because my concern with going outside, I mean, I could probably get there, but my concern is that we're just looking at right adjacent to city limits. Because if we're talking about, because we've gone out and gotten space age fuel in some other places that don't have city water, don't have city sewer and all that. And, and then we end up, having to do these improvement districts and things like that to get services. I don't have an appetite for all that kind of stuff. I'm talking about stuff that's right next to an existing development, right, surrounded on three sides by city limits, of which one property I know is interested in developing, those kind of things. I'm not looking at,
No island annexation.
yeah, just, having to go down, a mile down the road or whatever like that. So, because that would be extremely expensive for them to, to get services out there, and that's, beyond our capacity to.
But that's on them.
Look at
If they do that, that's on them to get
But
that.
it's also why they go, we're protected because it goes through the planning commission before it comes to us. And then we get to make that decision whether we choose to annex or not. You don't have to choose to annex. If it falls in the criteria that doesn't meet what you're looking for, or the majority isn't looking for, there could be a no vote on annexation. It's not
So then,
automatically
so if
approved.
if they won the lottery and they applied to annex and then we denied it,
And we're denied.
do they get all their money back and then we go throw it back into the lottery? Is that how that would work?
Looking at the lawyer.
They definitely wouldn't get their money back because that's just a processing fee. It's not an approval fee.
Yeah, if they don't use the ERUs within the timelines specified in the ordinance, in the moratorium, then those ERUs are in the city's control again and could be part of a subsequent lottery. I do want to clarify, depending on the annexation method that the developer uses, most annexations I've seen since 2015 when the law changed have been under a new provision that was created by the legislature that is mandatory approval.
Yeah, you have
So
to approve
if
it.
like 3 or 4 criteria are met. And so there's typically, there used to be more discretion. There's typically very little discretion in most annexations now.
Which is why I think it should say no island annexations. Or whatever the proper term is, but it should.
One
have
of the
to be
requirements of
city
that statute
adjacent.
is at least one portion of the property being annexed is contiguous.
Yes.
So that is part of the statute already. For that.
Question?
Yeah, I just want to follow up with the two of you, counselors across from me. In regards to why support why support the urban growth now versus 6 months from now when we look at it? Again, the statement was made. The economics is, well, the city is, what is the driving reason for doing it now? A sense of fairness, or is it financial?
Who are you asking?
Both of you, yeah, it gets, yeah, just curious about your support for that. I'm kind of on the fence, so.
Want to go first?
Doesn't matter.
I'm just gonna say, for me, it's just about opportunistic value. If there's more people that are willing to build now, let's build now. We've been sitting on properties for years with no development. And if somebody's gonna annex tomorrow and start paying taxes because they won the lottery, they're gonna build. I mean, that's what we want. We need that growth for that. That's what's driving me. Do I think we have enough within the city to do that? Absolutely. I do think so. Do I think that all of those will build right away? I don't think so. I've watched them too long sit here and not build.
So
I
you
think
think the
by
real
opening-
demand is outside, not inside?
Well, I think there's more, are you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
I think we double our potential, right? By adding the amount of people that can participate in the lottery. Between the number of people who are holding on to ERUs currently and are not doing anything with their projects. And if we've got people who are ready, even if they're not inside the city limits currently, and it can provide SDCs, which we have not been collecting because we've had no movement, and increased taxes to the city, and more ratepayers potentially, then yes, that's my thought process.
Thanks.
I'm just trying to understand the logic, though. If we have those people, because the same timelines are going to apply to the same people. There's no difference in the timeline, whether you're inside the UGB or outside or in the city limits. What urgency are they going to have outside the UGB, the people inside the city that have been paying property tax this whole time aren't going to have? What urgency are they going to have that the ones inside aren't? That you can't wait to see how many go out first, and then if there is leftovers, reallocate. I'm all for reallocating them out at that point.
Yeah, for me, it's all about timeline. As I was stating before, if somebody's ready to build today, and they all they have to do is annex and get approved, and I use today figuratively. I've just seen too many times in the city where properties have sat for a long time. And I feel like some of those developers that own those lands that are just waiting on the ERUs are gonna delay till the last minute again. And yeah, there is a timeline here that they're gonna have to abide to, but if it's 2 years later or 18 months later versus tomorrow, it will definitely, change the value of that. And that's what I started with. It's about the opportunistic value of the ERU. And I just see there's more opportunity to let other people in. It doesn't mean they're gonna get more benefit from it. It's gonna be a fair lottery system that could be played out all with people inside the city limit. But it's gonna open the door to allow several people, as Kelly said, it could double the amount of people involved, which will greatly expand our reach and could help improve the city's growth. So
I would agree if we didn't have a finite number of ERUs, but that's what we're stuck with. What's the cost to participate in this lottery system?
Very minimal.
$100?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Was that right?
I believe you're correct.
So I'm still, it's not because I'm trying to be argumentative. I'm really trying to come to where you guys are at. But I don't understand why we shouldn't, for this first round, if the people within the city limits are already, that have been sitting there waiting for this to come along, why they should get bumped out from somebody that hasn't been paying the city taxes on this first go round. Why should we not give them that preference? And I'm just, because there's time. What stops somebody from outside the UGB from sitting on that property as well, annexed in? Like, what guarantee do we have that they're going to build?
I want to get clarification on these time things, because on number 10, H, is that right? 10H?
10H, yeah.
So that's where it starts lining out the timelines of what they got to do. What I'm looking at this is like, Okay, they gotta, submit a land use application and then it goes to Title VII. So basically, I wanna see the utilities and the streets and all that put in within a pretty, once they get approval of their land use application, then I wanna see dirt starting to move soon after that. And building permits issued within, I thought we had some language about that, didn't we? That we had building permits happening within a year, something like that. I thought all that stuff was in there. Did that get taken out?
Which to,
Because that's kind of where, to their points about actually getting construction going and not just sitting on it.
isn't that the Title 17?
Right, it's the existing timelines that you have in your development code for how quickly building permits have to be pulled after land use approval.
You're going to talk a little bit louder.
It just defaults to the existing rules that you have in your development code as far
Which
as
is?
how quickly, it depends on the nature of the land use approval. How quickly they have to record the final plat or pull building permits. It depends on and Kelly.
Well, that's obviously kind of nothing at all because they have been sitting around for years. So.
Exactly. And that's kind of back to, I think the point that at least I'm trying to make is that there are no guarantees, and that's fair. You are correct.
I'm just trying to see.
But there's no guarantees for any of this, right? Like we have people who've been sitting on ERUs and asking for extensions, and I support the extensions because of what they've gone through. But I mean, some of these people could get these projects and ask for extensions, and we're just continuing on the same path. So for me, looking at things like water and wastewater upgrades and whatnot, and I'm just trying to get that pool as big as possible.
So can you clarify and answer my question, please, about exactly how long do they have, once they get their land use approval, how long before they're required to have, what is that, final plat approval to where they have the utilities in? Is that right?
It would be 2 years. And it takes probably the quickest I've ever seen a subdivision constructed and platted. Well, I've seen a few like 4 or 6 lot subdivisions. I'm gonna take those out of that. Anything with like 30 lots or more, the quickest I've ever seen is like 18 months.
Is that just for the utilities in or for all the houses?
No, that's for like getting all the utilities in, all the roads in, surveying everything, getting it all
So
recorded.
like Sandy Woods is now.
Right,
ready to go.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so that's the final plat point?
Mhm.
Okay, and so they have 2 years to get to that final plat point from the
Correct.
time of land use approval.
Correct.
And do they have allowable extensions of that are automatically built in our usual code?
It says no.
Just what's in the development code.
Excuse me,
Yeah, it would be one year extension.
so that's a 3-year.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's where I'm kind of like wanting to kind of tighten this down so we don't end up again where, I want to give them time to do it, but I also don't want to, I don't want to see 2 years go by and no ground's been turned and they're coming in for an extension and, Mother May I kind of stuff. I just don't think that's, I mean, we've got folks that want to get the ground,
I want to be careful about mixing our Title 17 with our moratorium. I am not disputing that maybe should be something we talk about, but it feels like we should talk about that outside of the moratorium hearing, and because that would affect Title 17.
No, I'm saying that, that under this moratorium language, I would put in something that says no extensions. They
For
have
the
2 years
ERUs.
to get a final plat. That's what I would
So
propose.
effectively cut off the ERUs so that they lose their land use. I only mention this because we went to some effort to kind of now align the ERUs and the land use expirations now with this version. It's the first time I think they've really aligned.
Well, we've aligned the ERUs, not all the land use stuff don't change.
The moratorium ERUs and don't they align with the land use this time now?
I think you're talking about two different things.
I'm sorry.
Councilor Hogan's talking about aligning the ERU expiration with the land use expiration so that you don't have two different deadlines that you're tracking. They just automatically are in sync for any given project. I think the mayor is talking about
Going forward.
the extension of the existing ERU allocations, which is a separate matter.
Yes, going forward, same day.
For these new projects under the lottery, the
But the
ERU
stuff
and the
already we have,
land use will expire on the
those are
same day.
not getting matched up.
Right.
Other than they're all getting the same ERU regs provision.
I mean, what I can tell you is the extension has to be granted by me, and if they're making no progress, I'm not gonna grant the extension. If they're making progress and, you know, they need a little bit more time to get it platted, I would grant the extension.
Do we have any projects right now, Kelly, that you would not extend? Because they've just been drug out for.
I think everything's pretty much ran out of their extension timelines, all the big projects, anything with the ERUs has. So that I don't have any ability to extend them any further.
Lindy, do you have some more questions or comments? How about you, Chief?
No.
Chris, do you have any other?
I mean, to answer Counselor Sheldon one more time, I hear you loud and clear, and I feel that what you're saying is that the city, people that are paying taxes deserve a first choice option, and I'm not disagreeing with you on that. But I also feel that people who aren't annexed to the city today, if they win the lottery and do annex, they're also paying city taxes that they weren't paying for before. So it gives them a more immediate urgency to build, where I've seen a propensity for people within the city to not build, even though the timeline's the same on both of them. So I'm not feeling like we're dismissing people paying taxes, which was the primary reason I asked the question about the temperature that Kelly felt about the number of people waiting to build in Sandy right now. And I don't want to paraphrase your words, but he basically said he didn't see that being fulfilled. And he thought that the applicant pool would double if we expanded it. So I just feel like it has more opportunistic value for the city long-term to do that in the short term.
I didn't hear that. I thought you said, correct me if I'm wrong, I thought you said there was an opportunity.
I think it'll be fulfilled either way, but I did say, I think you probably double your applicant pool. Yeah.
I understand that.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Look, I think we're at a point now where we're just gonna start running in circles so we can always agree to disagree. I will say this, though. I will say, though, that, in a normal environment, I 100% agree with you, Chris. But I will say that the propensity that you talked about, these people are people that are sitting on the sidelines that haven't been given the opportunity to apply yet. And during this whole time, they have been paying City of Sandy taxes. So that's just, I think we're at a point in there. Maybe we agree, maybe we disagree. I still love you all at the end of the day, and
I have one.
Buy some
more
pizza and
question.
soda.
So Kelly, so you haven't gotten any interest, or, have people been coming in and that are city residents or whatever, their lands within the city limits, but want to develop? Is there?
Yeah, I've gotten both, right? I've gotten the exact two things you guys are talking about. I've gotten people that are already in city limits that want to develop, and I've gotten people that are in the UGB but not city limits yet that want to develop as well.
For the ones that are within the city limits, do you have any idea? Is it like 100 lots that could be developed? Or, that's kind of where I'm trying to figure out, like, how much interest do we have and how much competition and all that.
You still don't have any guarantees.
I don't know, and I'm really bad about projecting which properties are going to develop because I've
No, we
tried
don't
this in the
do that.
past and I'm
Yeah, no, I'm
terrible
just
at it.
thinking numbers.
But why can't we run a first lottery with city only? And then if there's not 100 applications, if there's only 6, then those other ones can go out to anybody, as I've been saying all along. But
we
for this
only have-
first go around,
Can we do it quickly? I would get on board with you if we can do it quickly. I
it
just
sounds
feel
like we
it's
can
gonna
do it
be-
the day after they give the little the fake ERUs.
Well, we need to, say the window is open, you have 14 or 21
Right.
days to apply or whatever that timeline is. But yes, our plan is to go live as quickly as we are able to do so.
And if the entries are inadequate, then we could come back very quickly after that lottery closes and say, look, we didn't get the interest we thought we were going to. Let's revise the moratorium to expand it. I think that was your question.
And I want to be careful because the timeline, if you look at section B and C, that explains the timelines.
The,
The timelines are going to be much more extended
Can you
than
be more
which
specific?
section?
section 10, B and C. So in land use, as I think you're all aware, to get a, like Josh was just saying, to get a good application that we can see it, if it even actually meets being applicable to lottery and actually letting people put something together that's actually feasible. That's why there's like 30 days and then 150 days. I mean,
6 months, yeah.
it's not gonna be, hey, the lottery's available, everybody have your applications in 2 weeks. It's way too complicated for that. And we would get a lot of half-baked ideas that would never go forward.
So you're giving them 150 calendar days to
Mhm.
put their application, which is gonna cost a lot of money if they don't win
Correct.
the
Yes.
lottery.
Well, that is the other point. That's a really good point, Mayor, that, yeah, to even get something to the lottery, it's gonna cost some money in engineering and surveying
Yes.
and everything else. So you're only gonna get people that are serious about moving forward with development.
Okay, question on the B thing. Is described the city of Pasco residential ERU lottery, blah, blah, no, so include. So that will be available. So within 30 days, we're talking 42, but what has to happen in order to get the 20 something that we also have that are expired? Is that another project, something, or
Josh, can I say this?
clarify for me how we
So-
get those back officially?
Any ERUs that have been returned to the city as of the date of that notice will be included in the lottery.
Right, but it's not like they had
the-
to drop them off at the front
the-
office or touchscreen. It's just,
the-
it's on paper. And, and did they officially give them up, or did we officially say, we've taken them back, or?
The question
That's what I mean.
of when ERUs that have been allocated are deemed returned to the city is a conversation that we should have separately and in attorney-client privilege context.
Okay. All right, so probably within the next 30 days, I'm thinking. Because I mean, if we're gonna go out with 42, but we might have 20 something, I'd like to just,
That I'll leave it to Tyler to schedule that.
Okay.
That conversation definitely, from my perspective, needs to happen before the 190 ERUs are approved by EPA and DQ, so you can know what number to put in the notice.
okay. And I have one more question that I want to kind of get lost in my head. Okay, so we have 20 something, we think we have. My question has to do with, we have something, we've changed the zoning on an industrial parcel, and they've been waiting, and we've done all this other stuff to try to get them. I think they need 1 or 2 ERUs, right? There's,
I think 2 to 4, somewhere in there. It's
something like
it's
that,
low
very
though.
small amount.
Yeah.
So, but, and then we have another person who's developed a whole, art studio or whatever, and there's apartments. I don't know if they have enough ERUs to actually, they're actually constructing it right now, but evidently they can't hook up the toilets or something like that. Maybe they can't do the whole thing because they don't have the extra ERU. So those things are already like under construction or under, fairly far along and ready to go. Is there any option for using any of the 20 something that we already have back to allocate to those folks?
So I want to be careful here.
Yep.
We don't know how many are available from the initial allocations until we have that conversation.
Okay.
And also want to note that based on the methodology that's used here, those have to be used for the same purpose that they
Right,
were
yeah.
previously allocated.
Right.
So the vast majority of the ERUs that have been allocated, as you know, are for residential purposes. So I don't believe it's very likely, Kelly, correct me if I'm wrong, that there's enough ERUs for the economic development project that you're referring to from the existing allocations. However, I do want to note that nothing is stopping anybody. Might be throwing Kelly under the bus here a little bit. Nothing is stopping anybody from having extensive pre-application conversations with the community development department right now, so they can be ready to hit the ground running the day that the ERUs become available. So they can be working on their application, especially for the economic development, where it's not a lottery. It's first come, first served. They can have their application ready to go and submit the day that those become.
Yeah, I just feel like, if we already have 25, 20, whatever, we have 20 something, which is more than enough to deal with that other one. And then it's just a matter of, moving it from one column to the other column, because we're gonna have them. you know, a little bit later, but this allows us to get started. That's the kind of common sense flexibility that I thought I would have hoped would have been in this document. So
So a couple things.
maybe we do that outside after we have this executive session or whatever. I don't know, but it just feels like we're getting in our own way as far as this economic development opportunity.
Well, we'll remind, just jump in, Kelly, the council that we did adopt a alternative, wastewater treatment ordinance that no one has taken us up on yet. So I agree that there are, other avenues that we can explore in terms of trying to get that across the finish line for the economic development project, but that property owner also has to be willing to come in and meet with us and talk about what's available and then be serious about moving forward.
So a couple things. I am meeting with that gentleman next week, and our kids are friends. So I've talked to him a lot. He's aware of the timelines associated in this resolution, and I don't think any of it gives him any heartburn, honestly. He's just looking forward to when the 190 is unlocked, he'll apply at that time, from my understanding. And then the only other thing I wanted to say is that on the art studio thing, it's like apples and oranges, because Mr. Gambino's site is a site that's never had a structure, has never paid for SDCs. Where the art studio is going in, we actually found historic records. They actually bought 3 SDCs like in the 1950s or whatever it was. And so those stay with the property in perpetuity. So when they knocked that old building down, we transferred those 3 ERUs to their new structure, which they're currently constructing. They will have access to toilets and everything. However, in the 3rd floor, they cannot put in the apartment yet until these 190 ERUs come out, at which point they can acquire a ADU actually and put the apartment on the top floor at that time.
Nice. So that's, I bet if they're out there building it right now, it's just kind of that awkward of having to kind of.
So it's just the 3rd floor is just going to be storage for now, and until she can acquire the 0.7 ERU.
Okay. All right. So the question, I guess.
I had one more.
Go ahead.
So going back to my original question, or maybe I can't remember where we started, but the Dave Van Day question. And it's related. So he knows he's going to lose some ERU soon because he's probably not going to be able to move ahead. Can he give them up, or does he have to give them up to join in the lottery? Let's suppose we get the 190 in 2 months. Before he actually loses his ERUs. Can he give them up ahead of time and join the lottery? Can he join the lottery without giving them up? What's his options there?
That's a great question. I'm looking at trying to figure out how that would fit into the terms of the moratorium.
I couldn't see anything directly.
I mean, one way I will answer that is I don't think we'd want to write anything into the moratorium that would disallow somebody from giving them up.
I think that's what I was thinking. I mean,
Yeah.
that, to me, that gives a path forward
Correct.
where he really doesn't have one right now.
So I think if there was a developer that was like, you know what, I'm not going to move forward, I think we want them to be able to give them back to us immediately if they
Give them
choose to.
back. Go back to the lottery. If you win, reset your clock, move
Right.
forward. If you don't.
So I will say mathematically, he would not be able to apply for the number of ERUs he needs for his project without first returning the ERUs he currently has to the state. There's not enough for the project. So that would have to occur. There's nothing in the moratorium that specifically addresses an early return. I guess one question would be, there is another extension that has to happen to get to that December 2027. Whatever his current expiration date is, we might choose to just let that pass. Short of that, even though it's not explicitly addressed in the moratorium, I don't think if anybody were to come to the city and say, I want to return my ERUs and I'm willing to sign an agreement saying I'm returning them to you, that there would be any reason for the city not to agree to that.
Thanks. It doesn't affect my decision on everything else, but I just wanted to have that stated. Thank you.
That made me come up with another question.
Oh, no.
So a current property owner with ERUs that has them in hand, are you saying that and I'm not asking for the reason why, are they able to apply for the lottery system the way it's written?
I believe so, yes.
My
The
question
question would
becomes-
be, why would they?
It's around the clock. If their clock's about to expire, they would then apply Because if they lose nothing. They still got the time restraint. But if they win, they reset their clock. And that's a benefit for them if it does that, because the city's not, re-upping or elongating their clock today. My question then is for Kelly, how many people are coming up on a clock in the next 6 months that could heavily change the parameters around the lottery system?
The odds.
Correct.
I think Mr. Vanderhay is the only one with a land use clock issue. I think everybody else is fine. I do think there'll be an interesting conversation that we'll have to have in the future if we get platted lots where they have not constructed all the homes yet and they're running out of ERU time. But I think that's a conversation for another night.
One thing I would say, though, that is a little bit, the question that was asked is what's the harm? And I was curious about the Cascade Creek Apartments because those actually got their final order approved July 11th, 2023. And Bull Run Terrace got theirs approved 12/5/2022. So Cascade Creek's got theirs approved 7 months after Bull Run Terrace did. And they're all built and renting out apartments. And so this whole idea of like, I know they had some challenges before that, most of them, in my opinion, somewhat, so some of it self-imposed, some of it probably, just a lot of different issues. But my point is that they've had the approval since, December 5th of 2022, and it's now 2026. And there has not been a shovel of dirt and nothing put in except for the stuff that we told them we had to have because of the park. And that we were building this park, and so they put in their stuff underneath the park because we said we weren't going to let them put it in the park through the park. And so it's just, I do have the question of, I want that to develop. I really do, but I don't understand why, and I get it. The SDCs went up. They went up for the Cascade Creek too. So I'm just trying to kind of figure out, I want to see that happen. I want to, but I am frustrated that there hasn't been any ground broken on that, that they haven't, everybody else, Sandy Woods finally got their stuff put in, and even Mac Evan over that Bornstead views, he's got, he's putting in the roads and all that. So I am concerned if if we decide to take him back or whatever, and then they're in again, and then he gets another, 3-year clock going. I don't see this, I don't have any confidence that he'll be breaking any ground in 3 years, just given the history of what's happened on that parcel of land. So that's my concern. I would like, I would like to hear more about why that's not happened, but that's outside the scope of this. So what I'm hearing though for everybody's is kind of the question is, do we go in, do we stay within city limits or do we go out? And if we do go out, it's only contiguous to the existing boundaries of the city limits. Was there any other additional changes that we wanted to consider?
Can I just make a statement? We're talking about annexing in and these properties that have been sitting, and a lot of the developers and some of the people come on and say, construction costs have gone up, gas costs have gone up, everything has gone up and it's stalled their projects. Where I agree with Rich that the people who are paying taxes, that totally makes sense to leave this lottery the way it is and to wait till the next round. The other side of that is if we've got people who we annex in, obviously we can't predict the future, but the gas prices are what they are. The construction prices are what they are. The property prices are what they are. The fees are what they are. If some of those applicants won the lottery, they would have no kind of blinders up at the current moment to move forward now. And they're showing initiative that, yes, we want to be part of this. We want to move forward, and hopefully we wouldn't come up against the timeline where unexpected things happen in the world, construction prices triple like they did, everything goes up. And so I think there'd be a refreshed enthusiasm to get into the lottery and for that to move forward. And that's really what we want. We want to move forward and start getting these SDCs and paying for these upgrades and infrastructure and all of those things that that we are stuck with the moratorium.
Shall we take a kind of a thumbs up or down vote on whether or not we want to extend it to the UGB? People be okay with that? How about you, Chris?
Thumbs up for UGB.
Okay,
Same.
No.
down,
Move it down.
2 down, 4.
For, you haven't voted.
I'd probably go for extending it to the UGB, yeah.
To be
So-
clear, that's for all different components, commercial, residential.
Yes, that was the thing, yes.
I want to make sure we know what
Might as
sections
well.
we need to modify.
9, 10, 11.
It just doubles down everything.
And
Yeah, I just.
from a procedural perspective, there was a recommendation that we table this and come back if we go with the UGB. Is that still staff?
No, it was if we were gonna make changes.
It was if
If
there
we
was
were
going to be
gonna
a-
do like a lottery where it would be this and then.
Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you. So we can
can
move
move
forward
on.
with this today.
Is that true, Josh?
Yes, yeah, yes, and on the contiguity issue, I just looked up to verify. The city's existing criteria for annexations requires that they be contiguous already, so you don't need to add that to the moratorium, that's a requirement for annexation.
That's what I wanted.
Josh, just to be clear, so I believe we have to make amendments to section 9, 10, and 11.
Correct.
Okay.
To replace city limits with urban growth boundary.
And is it possible to put in there that there will be no extensions beyond the 2-year for the final plat?
Doesn't that interfere with Title 17?
No.
Yeah,
I mean-
I guess.
I mean, this is all interfering with Title 17 because nothing's.
My suggestion would be that if the city wants to change the timelines for land use expirations, that you would look at a separate measure to amend Title 17 regarding land use expirations.
My
Because
last question.
there's more than just the subdivisions. There's a number of different types of land use applications with different timelines.
So my last question on that is, so Kelly, you said that you have the ability to deny an extension. I'm asking Josh, is there anything in there that says he can't deny it, you know, that we have to give him extensions? Or is it just totally up to Kelly?
That's a complicated question.
All right.
That it may not be in the city's best interest for me to answer
Okay.
that publicly.
All right, well, I just get concerned about, again, another, you know, deja vu all over again kind of thing, where we've got somebody who won the lottery and did all this, but they're just sitting on it for whatever reason.
That could be another opportunity.
Right, 2 years, but then they shouldn't have 3 years. That's what I'm saying, before they even break ground. I mean, they get more time to build all the houses. But, you know, again, even getting to the final plat, you haven't collected any building permits, right? Or SDCs or anything. So that's where I'm trying to kind of cut that off. And let's, you know, the whole purpose of doing this is to start, you know, collecting some, okay.
Mayor Walker, I'm so sorry. I just have one more question.
Sure.
Is there anything in here about the transferring of ERUs if somebody wins the lottery? They get to 2 years and they can't use them. And I mean, or you know what I mean? They're holding the ERUs and then they want to transfer them to something else. Is that in this moratorium or?
I just want to double check the reassignment language. It's, yes, so the reassignment language, this is section 12A. The properties that are eligible to reassign ERUs are properties that had existing development and properties that had an ERU application under the third moratorium, not the development allocation program.
Thank you.
Okay, so
it's basically grandfather.
Right, you win the lottery and get ERUs, you cannot reassign those elsewhere.
okay, but somebody's thing is about to expire and they have the ability to transfer it?
No.
They can reassign their ERUs, but the expiration date doesn't change.
Right.
They don't have a lot of value.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
All right, are we, anybody else questions? Last call for questions? Okay, can I get, go ahead,
What's our procedure for?
getting a motion?
It's just a resolution.
But with the amendment, how do we do that?
So I would ask that a motion, Mayor, if it's okay, I would ask
Yeah,
that.
that's what I was asking for.
Approve resolution with Jessica to make.
So if a counselor could move to approve the resolution with amendments to section
Yeah.
9C, 10D, and 11C, changing the words city limits to urban growth boundary. Is that good, Jeff?
Okay.
So moved.
Okay, so. Guys, okay, so I have a motion from Counselor Smallwood and a second from Counselor Mayton to adopt resolution 2025-04 as amended in the sections that Jeff just mentioned. All those voting in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, vote nay.
Nay.
Motion passes. That means it's got to come back for. No.
It's just a resolution,
Oh, it's a
Mayor,
resolution,
so-
Just a
sorry.
resolution.
Okay, very good. All right, thank you. Thank you so much, folks. Appreciate it. Okay. Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Welcome to the city.
Okay, our old business is the, Clackamas County TSP check-in, right?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and Council. So you'll recall that earlier this year, Clackamas County began their transportation system plan update process. The council met and provided a list of 4 priorities that you would like passed along to the county. We did that, and Kelly's been serving as, I forget the technical title, but sort of the point person for the city of Sandy.
The TAC liaison, I
TAC
think. or
liaison,
something.
that's it. And so Kelly provided these 4 recommendations, which included improvements at intersection of Tenike and Highway 26, improvements at the intersection of 362nd and 211, improvements at the intersection of Furwood Drive and Highway 26, and then the extension of 362nd Drive north of Bell Street to intersect with Kelso Road. And unsurprisingly, the county had some follow-up questions. And here we are tonight to make sure that we're all on the same page so that we can get the county the information that they need. And with that, Kelly, I'll turn it over.
Yeah, so Tyler did an excellent job. So I've attended 1 TAC meeting so far. I think we have another one scheduled in June and then a few more throughout the year. And after each one, if there's any questions, I'll be making sure to loop everybody here into those questions and getting your feedback. The county, in the key considerations and analysis section of the staff report, which is like the meat of the staff report, the county actually did respond to all these 4 projects. And these are actually just verbatim from their email. So I just quoted them. And then in each one of them, there's questions in red. And then in a final one, they actually didn't ask a question. They just made a statement on the extension of 362nd Avenue. So I'm asking a question. With their email, basically, they were asking me to make the decision on what exactly we want to see with these improvements. And I reminded them that this list was not my list. This list is the city council's list. And all I'm doing is kind of sheep herding it to them. So I told them I would need time to come and speak to all of you and get your input on what you want to see. So that they can hopefully then incorporate it into the TSP process. So for example, the first one for Tenike Road, they're aware that we're open to the idea of a jurisdictional transfer for a portion of it. So as long as some improvements are made first. So they asked, what specific improvements are you looking for? And then the second part is basically they're asking if we've started the conversation on transferring it. And I already told them that, no, this is kind of starting that conversation. So on that one, we're really wanting to tell them what improvements are we wanting at that intersection. The second one, 362nd Drive on Highway 211, the exact same kind of question. They asked what type of improvements are you looking for at that intersection? They did say that they're planning a TSP project to remove or decrease vertical curve and remove vegetation. I do not believe that has anything to do with your request, but I wanted to confirm that with you.
Can you clarify, first of all, back to the Tenike, what is the improvement is the improvement to blocking off the,
So
what's the improvement that we want to make?
yeah, I think that's what we need to talk about tonight is what they're basically saying, okay, we've gotten your 4 projects. We need more specifics about what you would want to see us add to the TSP. So then they can like put cost estimates and everything together for it and see if it advances.
I will say, if I may jump in here with this specific project, I've reached out to the county numerous times, had conversations about this intersection. I've been told that the safety warrants, for lack of a better term, at that intersection don't trigger any improvements to be made under their traffic guidelines. And this was probably a year and a half ago, like previous to goal setting, when I had this initial conversation, and that no improvements would be made. And that's when this concept of, taking ownership of it first was kicked off. And so I've re-engaged in that conversation to ask if we were to do a jurisdictional transfer, what does that look like? For example, when we did Highway 211, that came with some funding from ODOT because there was needed improvements. Similar to this, would there be funding coming along with that? What is that funding based off of? So trying to get some additional information there. I haven't got a dollar amount or any other relevant information yet. So I struggle with this one a little bit because the folks that Kelly's working with are saying, what improvements do you want to see? And the conversation that I've had is we're not making any improvements because there's no improvements to be made. So I think this is getting some feedback from you will help clarify what avenue we need to go down. Is it a median to prevent people from turning left and causing the backup that overflows onto the highway that we hear a lot about? Or is it not? Or something else that you think is
Well, and with the caveat being too, that just because it goes in the county's transportation master plan, doesn't mean that it ever actually gets funded or comes to fruition.
That's a fair
It just
point.
becomes a box to check.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind.
I'm a little confused by the question. Aren't these traffic engineers that I don't realize you probably shouldn't come at a thing.
That's where I'm going. I
Yeah,
don't
but
have
At
any
a project,
experience
right,
with
without a
that.
solution, but that seems like these are the people that are supposed to find the
But I can
solution.
answer that one. I can answer that one really easily.
Okay.
Because I think what they would say is none of these 4 projects are projects that we would even recommend advancing.
Exactly.
So they want
That's
information
my
from us on what improvements do you want to see? And then what they're gonna do is take that information and see if it basically works its way up the TSP list.
Which you kind of just
Do
said.
we
it won't.
identify the?
Well, I don't know if it will.
Yeah.
But
The process hasn't
transfer
played
of
out.
jurisdiction is not a TSP project, correct?
No, that'd be a completely different.
Let me
thing.
ask them.
It's not a TSP project, but I think because we're willing to take ownership of it, I think this is my take on this one, they're more willing to play ball. They're
Right, but
more
we don't
willing
have
to make
do it in the
improvements.
TSP ball court, we can do that just separate and sooner, for example, right?
Possibly, but I do think the people that are putting the TSP together would be the same people that would negotiate with Tyler. Or the same people I'm dealing with would give information to the people Tyler's negotiating with on, here's how much money basically these improvements would cost. And here's how much we would transfer to them.
But just to cut to this place, first of all, the improvements that we want to see as far as blocking off that entrance, so people can't, whether it's a median or just putting the curb in there or whatever, that's not a required correction, according to them. According to Lori, that wouldn't even rate very high on their project priorities. So the only way to get this fixed is to take over jurisdiction of it. And I guess, is there any other improvements other than blocking off the access there that we would want to see done there on that section of road? Pedestrian, I don't know, bike lane, whatever. Is there anything else that we would want done and money from them to do it?
I mean,
guess
if
is my
you,
question.
in my opinion, if you're taking over jurisdiction of that road and how far you're gonna go down, there's gonna be probably additional improvements that are gonna be needed beyond just the intersection. So if we take it like a quarter mile down or 400 feet down, there's gonna be other road improvements that are gonna be needed beyond just that direct intersection.
AJ, can you weigh in at all on what might be needed?
ADA ramps, I believe, are not up to code. Will need to be replaced as well.
The ones there at the highway?
Yeah,
Those aren't those on the ODOT list already?
let me clarify that because.
All right, okay.
I know there's ADA ramps need to be replaced, and I just don't know which ones that are. So
When did
picture
these,
them in my head, but wrong ones.
We have some time to,
We
Okay.
need sidewalk as well, further how, for however far we do it.
Yeah, so the
Talking about
interesting-
it'd be great on Ten Eyck with no room.
I just want to go on record, I'm not for taking jurisdiction of
I'm not
tonight.
either.
Me neither.
Okay, then I don't think that there will be any improvements
Yeah,
made
but
to that intersection.
I would agree with that.
So I want to be clear about that
There's
because we
just a
keep
whole lot
talking
of-
about it.
A whole lot of downside.
And I do want to say, if we don't put anything in the TSP, then the chances of not having any improvements if it remains under Clackamas County jurisdiction goes to zero. Because it will not be a project in their TSP.
You tell me the only way to get in the TSP is if we kind of start down the journey of taking over jurisdiction?
Well, part of the conversation I had
I believe
originally
so.
too was not necessarily taking over the entirety of Ten Eyck. We can have a conversation about 100 feet, so at least
Right.
we just have access to the intersection from the highway to Pleasant Street.
Well, and why
Or
would
the
we have
highway
to put,
to
why would we have to
Street.
put we don't have sidewalks in a lot of parts in Sandy. Why would we would do it if there was development. And even if it's not in city limits, if a development's going in there, they have to put in sidewalks. Tom Worth put in sidewalks.
Yeah,
But he developed
personally,
some-
I wouldn't be concerned about sidewalks. It'd be more of like, if we think there's like additional streetlights or stormwater infrastructure that needs to be put in
But that would
regardless.
have to be developed.
Well, no. What I was gonna say is regardless if development occurs, if we believe those things should be done to meet our standards, that would be the money I'd be asking for.
I'm not looking for that. I'm just, yeah. And as far as acquisition of, yeah, I'm trying to get the section that's causing all the problems.
So I think you
The
got,
whole thing.
I think you got two options here. I can either tell them we're wanting, some improvements such as blocking off removing the driveway access to 7-Eleven and putting in new ADA ramps. The other option is to say, please just remove this from the TSP list. That's your two options, really,
Okay, but
unless you have a third.
I'd be asking for jurisdiction transfer for at least between Pleasant and there. I'd be asking ODOT to make the ADA ramp improvements.
I think they're
So-
working on that today,
Yeah.
actually,
Yeah, they
on
are.
Wolf and
Yeah.
26. Because it's now
Okay.
cutting off the right turn lane to the post office. And it's going to create a
A
huge
problem.
backup, and they're gonna have to block off that church parking lot if anything ever goes, I mean, it's,
It's a nightmare.
yeah.
Have we, so before we start having a conversation about blocking off, 7-Eleven's parking lot access from Ten Eyck, have we spoken to them? Because their delivery vehicles and all of that, being someone who drives large pieces of equipment, they cannot make access from Proctor into that store to deliver.
We have
And
not-
nor would Dutch Brothers. So that's problematic for their businesses.
We have not talked to them because it's not our road jurisdiction. So we wouldn't approve or deny the closure at this point.
That's fair.
It'd be the county.
So I go back to my previous, I'm not in favor of doing this.
But they can, I mean, they're getting into Dutch Bros. And that's a shared driveway there between 7-Eleven and Dutch Bros. So it'd be,
No, they're making access from 7-Eleven from the driveway from, I watch them.
I'm not saying they're not doing that. I'm saying that they could make access from where Dutch Bros goes in to get all their stuff.
I don't think they
No, they
could.
shouldn't.
It's very narrow, very short.
What's that?
I don't think they can with a trailer.
I think that'd be a crazy hard turn.
Yes, it'd be impossible.
Yeah.
You
And it'd be
block
really
entire
hard to get
intersection.
back out.
You'd
Even if you
block
got
the
in there,
intersection,
how you
and you'd
get
have to have
out,
all the
yeah.
cars out of the 7-Eleven. in
So
order
right
to make
now,
it.
right now, all of their delivery and anybody that's driving a larger rig comes onto Ten Eyck and turns into that parking lot because they have the entire curb space along Proctor. from
Well,
inside
it's
of-
causing a huge.
Can I ask a
issue.
clarifying question? Comes on to Ten Eyck from where? Like
Either
from what-
Either from Highway 26 or Pioneer. They either make the turn from Pioneer onto Ten Eyck.
And then they
So heading
turn left
east.
in.
But they can't make that turn.
Yes, they can. Pioneer onto Ten Eyck and then turn into the parking lot at 7-Eleven.
Isn't there a median?
Or if they're coming from the opposite direction, they would turn onto Ten Eyck and turn into the parking lot.
I see a lot of vehicles parked on the highway and they're just carting stuff in.
I'm
But their
concerned,
delivery
yeah,
rigs are
I'm concerned we're spending too much time on this, that we got another meeting after this. So let's follow, let's.
So just so you know,
You make some good points. Lori.
No, I don't disagree. I don't
Okay,
disagree
I'm
with
just
your
trying to get you out because you don't.
just
You don't
so
like
you
it,
know
go
that
on.
we have to have we have to have input to them by June 1st, or we're gonna lose our spot in line essentially. That's why it came
So
tonight.
if you just tell them we want it blocked off as a placeholder, you're saying they
Yeah.
won't accept that or won't go anywhere or?
No, I think anything you give them, they're gonna put that as an input.
Yep, okay.
Good.
Three 62nd, 211, what's our, what are we wanting there?
You're
What
wanting,
is-
my guess is you're wanting
What did we say? We want?
improvements at the intersection of Highway 211 and 362nd, correct? They came back with, oh, we're doing vertical curve and removing vegetation. That's all the way down there by the curve when you get close to Chinook
What
Street.
is a vertical curve?
Did we submit
just a-
comments?
where it
Did we
banks.
just give them the locations and not give them what the problem was and what we want? I'm confused.
Yeah, we just gave them locations for projects.
Yeah, I mean, in my mind, when I give someone an intersection and say there needs to be improvements, there's only so many things you can do to an intersection. It's signalize it, or it's stop signs, or
They interpret it as
they interpret
362nd
it
all the way
as
down to
a
211.
mile away, there might be some bushes that need to be trimmed. It seems like an odd ask, but the
think the
intent
answer
when
is
I
no.
proposed this one
Doesn't
was
satisfy.
we have a lot of traffic that comes through there and it's only going to continue to get worse. And turning left off of 362nd onto 211 can be dangerous depending on the time of day and the volume of traffic. So long-term, a traffic signal, I think, needs to be a non-traffic engineer perspective, a traffic signal needs to be there.
Roundabout, traffic signal.
Or roundabout, or something to improve the safety and traffic flow at the actual intersection.
Okay, that gives me what I need
But
back.
again, I mean, those are my comments. I want to make sure the electeds have.
No. I support that.
No, it's at the Red Schoolhouse.
Oh.
Okay, Fernwood Drive and Highway 26, that's a. pretty
So they
obvious.
said they have three, well, it seems really obvious to me too, but then they shot back. But we already have three projects identified at this intersection. And as you look down to the projects,
None of them are at the intersection.
which shows you how much they're paying attention to East Clackamas County.
Yeah.
Exactly correct.
Well, they're looking at it just like how we said, Bull Run is gonna affect 211. They're looking at it the same way. When they're looking at the traffic effect that if you improve these, but I agree with you, but I think that's the way they're looking at it.
Possibly, on their high priority list, they didn't have a single one around Sandy. Single project.
100% can
Zero
believe
surprise.
that.
Yeah.
And I pointed it out. to them.
Eastbound, there already is an eastbound right turn lane.
Is there? When you're heading
To
east, is
Fernwood?
there a right, does it go, is there
Yeah,
a turn
it's a
lane to go
yield,
right?
it's a yield thing, you don't even have
It's
to
a slip
stop.
lane, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not a.
Go off at like 40 miles an
It's
hour.
not a turn lane, you just
Yeah.
turn off.
It's
There's
just-
no turn lane there. You don't get into a separate lane.
And so
You just turn off.
I'm trying to picture.
what I'm assuming is that we wanted a traffic like that, that's what most people wanted, right?
Well, I'd like to see the speed limit slowed down and then the traffic light, but I mean.
I think there's a lot of
Add that
issues.
on, add that on
We
there.
can put photo later.
There's also that weird driveway
Outside
that comes out of the gas station and the U-Haul
Mhm.
right after the intersection. That driveway should be closed.
Okay, we'll put that and put the light and put the
Speed study,
speed study.
speed
Okay.
study,
Everyone in
light.
agreement with that?
That's great. Okay, an extension of 367 north to intersect with Kelso Road, so that's. That does not duplicate purchase. So we put that in our TSP. We do not duplicate, well, we should,
I mean, I interpreted that as we don't want to put it in our document because we don't want to pay a dime for it, even though it's in their jurisdiction. So,
That's
I
the
don't,
connection of 362nd to Kelso?
correct. You know, ultimately, as that area develops, there's going to need to be another outlet somewhere over there, right?
And I was just
Development
getting,
pay for it?
you said it wasn't ours, that's what I was curious, it's not ours?
Not all the way up.
Not all the way
Kelso
to
Road.
Kelso, no. We only have, if you look directly behind you,
Just up to Bell.
what is that, maybe a couple inches, which I don't know what the unit of measure is on that map.
Let's say quarter mile.
Quarter mile, and then it transitions into county jurisdiction.
So while this, I understand this would be a great wish list, is it more beneficial for us to have it in our TSP, given that we're going to probably expand that way and grow that way and ultimately be ours? Or is it more beneficial knowing that the county's not going to do anything to remove it from ours and let it be in the counties? I don't know the answer, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, I don't typically, I've done a few TSPs. I don't really agree with the idea that it can't be in both.
Well, then let's say that.
I
For
don't,
starters.
I mean, at the very least, they could, if they have heartburn about duplicating anything, then just, they could specifically call out that it is for the area that is outside of the UGB.
Maybe
Right.
that's the clarification you need.
You know, I'm not asking, or I certainly wouldn't be proposing to the county that they should pay for a section of road that's within our city limits adjacent to our development, but there is a long stretch that would conceivably
So
need
let's
to be
clarify
built by
that.
them or
Yeah,
in a
let's clarify
partnership.
that we're asking for that.
good idea.
And that we would be asking for those funds when that gets developed to the UGB.
Yeah.
In some sort of AFRD or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Okay,
I don't want to take up much more time, but
Nope.
when they charge when they charge their version of SDCs, their SDCs, they don't base it on the entire county's TSP plan, do they? Do they base it on each like part of the county's TSP? 'Cause so surely when you build a project out in Oregon City, you're not paying for Sandy SDC fees, are you?
I think it's the other way around. I think Sandy people are paying the Lake Oswego and Oregon
You're
City.
probably right somehow. But I mean, is that the way, do they do it that way in the calculation? Do you know?
I'm not aware.
Okay, just good.
Sorry, I'm not familiar enough with their
I'm not-
process on that.
I'm not aware of any official segmentation by county that you would require to do that.
I'm just assuming they'd have to have some kind of methodology like we do. And so I get my point to that was like, what does it hurt other than how it would affect their methodology? But if they do it by region, like say East County or wherever that's divided, I think it'd absolutely be beneficial to have this into their TSP. If it's as a county as a whole, I understand the logic of them not putting it into their rationale.
so let's keep it in there and then get clarification on that. And then, the other question I had on that is like, if you had a large commercial development go in that area and a traffic study determined that they needed another way out going north, would that be, they would have to pay for a certain part of that, but then is that kind of where we ask the county to get the part that's beyond the UGB?
I mean, I imagine, and Kelly, jump in here, correct me if I'm wrong, but we would do some sort of traffic study and determine an impact fee.
Okay.
Could allocate a portion of that impact fee to the property that's developing.
I think they'd do something similar.
Yeah.
County would.
It may not go anywhere because it's not going to prioritize high enough, but I think just especially the stuff from the UGB out to Kansas.
I will say the last thing I will say on this whole thing is I've made it very clear, and I think Jeff and Tyler have seen some of my communications that, and I've made it verbally clear too, that I fully expect there to be a project around Sandy in their financially constrained list and their priority list, because I know with their last TSP, they didn't put a single Sandy area or boring area project in there. And right now their priority list doesn't have one again. And I pointed this out and I said, I really doubt that I would really predict at some point that this is going to become an issue if you continue not to put any projects around our side of the county in your.
I know, they get,
Project.
yeah.
They were listening and
Yeah.
they didn't say anything to it.
That's where they said.
And
For what it's worth.
I'll just add to Councilor Sheldon's question, I can't find anything on the county's website that says the transportation SDC is charged a different rate per area. So
I remember you, oh, sorry.
I'm not gonna say that it's not, but I've certainly never heard of a different fee charged for different locations. It just says unincorporated Clackamas County.
I recall you asking in an earlier email, Kelly, whether geographical fairness was one of their approval criteria. That's a good question.
And they said, oh, not yet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not at this
Well,
time.
That's kind of where, talking to me and, we meet as mayors with the Clackamas County, board chair, so that's the kind of stuff they want to hear from us.
I think it's going to be vital
Yeah.
if you guys
Okay.
want to see any of these events.
All right, do you have enough go on?
I do. Thank you
Okay,
very much.
All right, so let's move on to the next item, and that's nuisances affecting public peace. We had the staff report, we had the proposed changes. We've all had, we've heard some public comment on it. Is there anybody here that wanted to make changes on it?
I have two
Okay.
real quick. So one, based off of the email letter that we received earlier today. I'm okay with changing the hours for yard equipment to 8 p.m. I'm okay with that. I have no problem with that. It's 1 hour,
Yeah.
especially in the summertime.
Can I get a thumbs up or vote on that real quick?
Can we hear the rest
You
of
want to
it?
hear them all?
And then my second thing is, can I get some clarification? Because they posed a good question and I realized I don't actually know what we're talking about. In the section below that, for recreational areas on private property, what is that? What are we defining?
Okay, keep
that?
reading though, because it says bat, ball, and all that. It's not people's backyard hot
It
tub.
doesn't say anything. It literally says for recreational areas on private property not to be used between the hours of 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. I want to know what recreation areas on private property were specifically.
I think
Yeah, I
in the
think-
original code, it was written like racetracks or.
This wasn't in the original code.
No.
So are you talking about 10?
Ah,
It's in section 8.20.020.
B10?
Yep.
Yeah, it says the making of a noise with a sports ball, racket, bat, or any similar device. I don't think a similar device would be a hot tub like that
Okay.
person was
Yeah.
pointing
I just
out.
wanted clarification on what that meant because it was like, oh, you know what? I don't know either. So
And
thank
I
you.
think, I
That's
think,
perfect.
I do think if you're using a hot tub and people are being excessively loud,
Sure, sure.
I think you could use 14.
Fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But this had to do with we make these guys do private playgrounds on the apartments, and yet they're not controlling use, and so they're out there playing basketball at 1 a.m.
No.
And our parks close at dusk, and yet these guys, basically private/public parks.
Sure.
Yeah, so that's
Sure.
kind of why it did get defined with balls and courts and all that.
Yeah, no, like I said, I just wanted clarification on what we were referring to.
Okay, back to the other one. So there has been kind of a lot of discussion about the blowing, leaf blowing and all that. And I kind of agree with Counselor Smallwood about the fact that, 7 seemed too early and especially, I wasn't too concerned about because you only do the mowing and leaf blowing generally in the summer/fall when it's still fairly light. It's not like it's 4:30 at night, it's dark and you're out there mowing the lawn. So there was 8. Does anybody have any suggestions?
I'd say 9, literally, like the day after we talked about this, my husband got home from work at 7, started the weed whacker, and it was like 8:45 and
Yeah.
still bright light
Okay,
outside, and I was like.
Hearing 9
case in point.
to all.
I'm a 9 as well.
I'm a 9 as well.
Okay,
I can get on board with
all right.
I'm a 9. I just wanted to throw this out.
You're a 10.
You really are,
I,
Chris.
I would almost advocate from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. And I'll tell you for the same reason but I know people don't want to hear morning noise. I'm a 4 a.m. guy, so I'd much rather get started early, but I go to bed at 8 o'clock at night. So 9 p.m. is terrible for me, but I understand there's not just me in the world. But I just want to throw it out there, 96, but I see everything else is at 7, but I just thought, we do have sun up really early in the morning,
Yeah,
a lot.
it's hot.
And it gets hot.
Yeah.
So I'd rather be doing it early in the morning than later in the evening. So I have the same argument you have for 9 or 10, I have for 6 a.m. So,
Is there any?
and I think I do think there should be uniform appliance to all of it. There shouldn't be some this, some that, should all be one.
Yes.
And I can
I
go
can do
for
that. I can
either
go with
one,
that.
97 or
Just-
96.
I mean, we won't be able to remember, let alone anyone else,
No, yeah. Perfect to be uniform. Yeah.
So please say. up
I'm
or
a
no
7
for
to 9 for me.
7 and 9? Who wants 7 and 9? Okay.
Yeah, I don't.
Sorry, man. 6 is too early.
Okay, and then another
We're
one,
shift workers.
another one that came up was like, for some reason, the people with auto repair shops that are next to residential properties it was 11 p.m. and now it's 10 p.m. And I'm like, I don't know any car repair shop that stays open past 7. And even then,
Once
Chop
again,
shop.
I think the time
Chop
should
shops,
be across the board.
well, yeah, and I do know there
Automotive
was,
repair facilities are open until 9 p.m. in some places.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, but I
Well,
think
I
we
don't-
can just 7 to 9. Just let's make
Straight
it across the board.
I agree.
I wouldn't even go that late with, I think, what did I tell you for, what I suggest? I was
I think you,
7 p.m. or something.
I don't remember, to be honest.
I just kind of think if it's, and I will tell you because construction work, is over when they're done with the project. But when you live, there was a property that's a bluff road between Olson and Kelso. And those people finally moved because they couldn't take the noise going on for so late all the time, every day. And it was a lot of noise. And so that kind of stuff, I just, when you're a residential auto repair shop in a residential zone, that, I kind of think 7 p.m. is, that's more of like that developers and
So-
stuff like that.
We
That
have
they
Can I-
other noise ordinance that would apply to that.
Can I make a quick clarification on
I just
that?
want to make the argument real fast. If we go 9 to 7, 9 PM to 7 AM, even automotive shops, I'm gonna tell you, as somebody who's been in that industry for 25 years, I'll get a customer that shows up at 7 PM at closing and they got an axle problem. AutoZone's open until 9 o'clock. We're gonna put that axle in their car and get them on the road and get them home. And it's gonna be 8:30, 9 o'clock before we finish.
AutoZone is gonna,
Yeah, they do, they're
Most
open until
places
9
open till
PM,
9.
9 PM.
but you,
So,
they
and
don't
and
do
if
the
I'm-
work, do they?
That's not what it's.
no, we'll get the
The-
part availability.
Right.
So the shop will stay late and do it. Just like if I'm a mechanic by nature, I'll come home after work and do it in my garage. But I'm gonna shut it down by 8 or 9 o'clock. So I just think it should be 9 PM to 7 AM universally for all of the things that are in here from a noise nuisance perspective, not a criteria that's different for each.
Which is what Don said.
I think that becomes very problematic for construction noise.
Yeah.
I don't think you want an excavator running out at 8:59 at night next to your house.
There'd be people all over the place.
I don't, I would strongly recommend against that.
It's pretty loud and it rattles our house.
I would strongly recommend against that.
If you value your excavator, you'll not run it at that hour. Because
I'm telling you,
there's
where
jungle warfare that happens in
the
those.
comments we get from the public already about the hours is problematic. I think if we go to 9 PM,
I want to, having lived through that, like it rattles your
I would
house.
not do that.
Like it's a deal. And I realize that once it's over, it's over. They're probably not going to come back with one, but it is a
When we make
deal.
construction projects, we can just separate just the construction.
And there is an excavation and construction
Excavation,
category.
construction,
But
Yeah,
my whole point about that is that the construction is over when the whole project's done. You finally get your piece. But when you live next to a automotive repair shop in a neighborhood where it's a home-based business and they're going every day, all day, that's not just a once in a while thing. That's my concern is I would, I could live with 8, I guess, if people could agree to 8 PM.
Where do we allow automotive repair shops in a residential area?
Well, this was the clarification I was trying to make earlier. It's actually, it doesn't specifically say that. It says an automotive repair shop within 100 feet of a dwelling unit, short-term rental or residential facility. So it could be a automotive repair shop in a commercial or even an industrial zone if there's a dwelling within 100 feet. So that's what this.
So
one
that's, so
section
that's
is.
one example. The other, I think, is also a problem potentially. If you have somebody who's started a neighborhood or backyard repair shop and they're doing all kinds of hours, doesn't that come within, don't we have other sections of code that affect what you're doing there? Like if they're running, I got a neighbor who does a little bit of work, but aren't the regular nuisance noises in residential areas, wouldn't that just fall into that category?
Oh, you're saying for like a home-based business or
Yeah,
something?
if somebody just sets up shop and starts, working on all their neighbors' cars.
Yeah, there's a whole separate section in Title 17 around that.
Yeah, so I think I think that one we're okay. So this would be the hotel next to a Les Schwab or something.
Well, I think we
Or the
have,
next use, yeah.
we have section 14 also that
Right.
further,
Okay.
it's the umbrella, the catch-all of any other loud, disturbing, unnecessary noise, which a noise disturbs, endangers.
Okay, so can we change it to 9 PM though? Please?
Well, if
Chris
you're,
said he could live
if you're
with
trying to
that.
make it consistent, I think you should.
It was 11, huh?
It's, yeah, no, I think what's currently on the table is
7 to 9.
7 to 9, but construction being,
Automotive
That was
repair
separate.
is 7 to 10.
right, no, I'm saying that the changes that the council has discussed tonight is to change all the times, make it consistent, 7 to 9, except I've heard you say you want a construction handled differently.
And I would also like to clarify that to make sure that this 13 automotive repair shops isn't authorizing home-based repair shops to be noisy outside of the other things. I mean, I'm almost prefer to strike 13 altogether to avoid the confusion.
Now, why do we have to have that in there? If
So
we were to
you
take it
don't-
out, wouldn't it just apply, wouldn't it be the same application across the board for other things?
So the way this code is set up, which is pretty common, is you can't make any unreasonably loud, disturbing noise. And then here's a list of examples of things that we've decided in advance are unreasonably loud, disruptive, whatever noises. So if from a code enforcement perspective, it's much easier to write the citation and get the conviction in Muni Court. If you can say, well, they're doing the thing that is explicitly called out and not have to fall back on the general rule. But I do think there is something to be careful of, what Councilor Hoganson is suggesting, which is by saying that a loud noise between these hours from an auto repair shop is prohibited implies that we think that within those hours, it should be permissible. So there is a kind of a balancing there. It doesn't mean it necessarily is, it's just it's gonna be a harder case to prove in municipal court if they're saying, well, I was doing it during the hours that I'm specifically called out as arguably being allowed to.
What if you have an existing nonconformity though? So you have a repair shop and then it's been there for 50 years, like that one in our downtown, and then somebody built a mixed use with dwellings within 100 feet of it. That shouldn't,
That's not his fault.
exactly,
Yeah,
that shouldn't close the automotive repair shop.
yeah.
Okay, just to be clear, so I know what we're voting on. We're saying that there's a proposal to approve, allow noise or whatever from 7 to 9 PM. Is that what I've heard? And
Yes.
except for excavation and construction number 7, which would remain the same. And what are we doing with number 7, notwithstanding anything else, 7 to 10? If you're working on your own business or your own house, whatever. That stays the same?
7 to 9.
Seven
I
to
think it's
nine.
7 to 9.
Yep.
Okay,
Consistency.
Yep.
okay,
It's consistent.
everybody got that down?
And when you say consistency, you mean every single section. So
Well,
including sports ball, racket, bat, that's
Yeah.
9 PM too.
Unless we're gonna carve it out.
I mean,
just
are we
like
gonna tell
construction.
kids they can't, I mean, it's still light at
It's
9
still light.
o'clock.
That's why I'm asking
Are
the
we gonna
question.
tell kids they can't go play in the park at 9 o'clock? I'm not. I don't wanna vote for that.
Okay, so we make an
Not-
exception for recreational stuff?
I'm not sure that from a personal perspective, and you know, take this or leave it, but I'm not sure that the sound of children playing in the street is a whole lot different than my neighbor mowing their lawn for
It's not.
15 minutes. So is it 9 or is it 10? From an end user perspective, I don't think that makes a big difference.
Okay, so excavation stays as is. The other stuff is 7 to 9. I think. And then recreational is 7 to 10, as is the working on your own house is. It says 8 to 10, you could change that to 7 to 10.
Once again, for enforceability,
Okay, so,
the more exceptions and one-offs, it's just gonna be.
right, but,
complicated.
okay, again. Excavations and construction stays the same, leaf blowers and all that stuff, 7 to 9. Recreational areas, 7 to 10, as is working on your own house, 7 to 10. Can we live with that? It's a little different, but, or
And
do you
it's
want
8.
it all 7? I'm hearing no on 7 to 9.
It's 8 to 10 on Saturdays and Sundays.
For what?
That's how the code is currently written.
For working on your own house?
Yeah,
So when people do roofing at 9:59 at night, can they be up hammering on their gutters and?
Oh, hey, they were up stripping
Yeah.
my roof
Yeah, they
at
can.
6:45 in the morning, so
This is gonna be completely
violating the code.
unenforceable.
it is.
With all these different times.
It already is.
I know.
I mean,
And-
we're not,
But I agree with you.
it's already.
And if
that
kids
way.
are playing baseball in the park at 9 p.m.,
I don't care.
Don't enforce it.
Yeah, but that brings up an issue that I have. I have had some
Great
people
rules that you enforce.
explore, well, is the matter of discretion. So, you know, I know sometimes we can kind of, it's easy to go with whatever side reports it first as being the the truth, we'll call it. And so, and you have to kind of prove yourself innocent at times. I don't really think that one, kids playing in the park in the daylight when the park closes at dusk, that they should have to prove I mean, because that's what's going to happen. You know, I think, does it make it unenforceable? It doesn't. It's very clear that you can't be doing X, Y, and Z before this time if it's after that time. But I'm going to really push back on 10 p.m. or any earlier than 10 p.m. for kids doing something that's healthy instead of having them out running around neighborhoods and checking car doors and doing all the other things kids can find themselves getting in trouble. I just think that I'm going to go on my little soapbox, but as we build more and more multifamily housing, the parks are going to be more important. That's going to be those kids' outlet. We don't need to be kicking them out at 9:00 when it's broad daylight. That's my thoughts. They need a place to play. They need to play. They need to be kids. I don't want to, I can't.
10 o'clock's still good, right?
I'm fine. 10 o'clock is fine.
In the winter.
I mean, yeah.
Summer, winter, okay.
I mean, if they're out there at 10 in the winter, I mean, they're gonna be cold and wet, but.
So we have construction, we can carve out, because most of those go through Kelly, and there's awareness and, you know, other penalties there, which is great. So that I don't have an issue with. If you do sports and other things, 10 o'clock, everything else is 9 o'clock.
Sure.
And we
Working on your own
acknowledge that
house,
it's going to be
working on
rough
your own
to
house, is
enforce.
that 10 or 9?
Did we carve out something if something
Yes.
breaks or something?
If you're the owner of the property, you can work on it between 7 a.m. and 10 p.m., Monday through Friday, and 8 a.m. to 10 p.m.
I've done a lot of.
Saturday and Sunday.
I've done a lot of projects and pushed that envelope, and it's nice having a deadline. Even as much as you hate having to stop, you feel, you know, I think having a 9 o'clock stop for even home improvement is reasonable.
Okay, so I'm hearing 7 to 9 for everything except for recreational, and it goes 7 to 10. Is that what I'm hearing?
7 days a week. Forget the Saturday thing.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Forget the Saturday.
Is there agreement? Yep. All those in favor? Aye.
We gotta have a motion, right?
Well, it's a
Yeah,
staff
yeah, we're
direction.
not-
That's right.
This is not
I'm
a
sorry.
public hearing.
I'm sorry. Yep, I'm sorry.
And Counselor Sheldon, to answer your question, the next section, C1, refers to exemptions around, like, if you had a water line break on your property.
I thought we did.
Yeah, there's
Things that you would need. to-
repairs of utility facilities that
Emergencies.
pose a clear and immediate
Yeah.
danger to life, health, or significant
The
loss of property.
reasonableness.
I think there's also just the responder, whether that's code enforcement or the police, they need to take into account the totality of the circumstances. So if
And I hope
there
we
is a
do.
situation that requires work beyond these hours, and there's a justified reason to do so, and empower our staff to say, try to keep it down, but your basement's flooding, yes, please keep digging and get your water line fixed or
So
whatever.
before I bring this back for adoption on June 1st,
June 1st.
because I really want to adopt it that way.
This is it. Me too.
Is there any other issues or points of clarification on my, how many did I put in here? 21 comments that I added where we made modifications since our last work sessions.
And keeping the gramophone, right?
Just for you.
Those out.
I slashed that one out.
Specific instruments.
Did we? This is the same as solicitation, right? We're not saying.
Because I'm not gonna have all these comments in the next version because it will be the ordinance adoption version.
Yeah.
So they'll all be taken out for next time we see this.
Can we look at the timeline on the solicitation? We have 9 a.m. or after 7 p.m. 7 is awfully early.
I thought about that one too, and I agree, because if you don't want people knocking on your door after 7 p.m., then you put a no soliciting sign on your
Yep.
door. So just make it
Anybody
9
else
as well.
have?
I'm fine with that.
I'm just feeling a little funky, so I looked up sunrisesunset.com, which shows the longest solstice day. And it says sunsets at 9:02 p.m. So I just want to argue for 9 p.m. again, but I'll agree to anything.
at this point.
So, yeah,
Don't we have 9
what
PM?
is the,
More confused.
proposed for the
sorry.
solicitation? What is it?
I'm sorry, what was that, Mayor?
Solicitation is 9 to 7? Is that
It's
right?
That's
9
correct.
AM to 7 PM.
Yeah.
Currently.
Confusing.
And we have a proposal to change it to 9 to 9? Is that what you're saying?
No, no. I'm good with
No,
that.
there's no proposal to change solicitation.
Okay.
I would,
No.
I would
Oh, you
propose to
did?
change solicitation to at least 8. I mean, again, some of these folks are just trying to make a living, and if they're coming around with their permits and all of those things, I have no problem with somebody knocking on my door asking if I want to buy pest control, because maybe the answer is yes.
Unless we have no solicitation on it.
Right.
Exactly.
I agree.
Okay, so who's in favor? I'm gonna, raise your hand if you're in favor of 9 to 8.
Works for me. That was a yes.
Okay, all right, please change solicitation from 9 to 8. Okay. Then I think we're done with that agenda item. Anything else?
Yeah, the intention is to bring back an ordinance to be passed on an emergency basis, so it would go into effect immediately on the 1st or on the 2nd of June, I suppose.
Okay. All right, the last item, official item on the agenda is. Thank you, Kelly, very
Thanks,
much. I
Kelly.
appreciate all
Thanks,
that.
Kelly.
hard work.
Tyler, did you really think that we were gonna get through all this by 8 o'clock to start our meeting?
Okay.
That was me. I was being optimistic.
Staff, okay, staff contract amendments for on-call construction. Talk fast, AJ.
Just
Yeah,
approve
just
it.
give us the.
All right.
Just
Yeah.
approve it.
You just go for it.
Just-
All right, so real short story
Great,
here.
can I have a motion?
There we go.
I mean, it's up to you guys.
I've read this.
Really, explain it really, like, in, you know,
Okay,
30 seconds.
Dollar amount,
yep, we have,
reason behind it.
we, back in 2024, we went out for 3 on-call contractors, only got 2, kept the same cap that we originally had, so 5 million apiece. We intended up to $15 million worth of work. With only 2 contractors, we had $10 million available in the contract amount. We need more to finish the work that we have in store here in the near future. So $1 million to each of the on-call contractors should get us where we need to be.
Can somebody make a motion on the suggestion motion language?
I'm going to authorize the city manager to execute amendments to the on-call water and wastewater construction contracts with James W. Fowler Company and R.L. Ramers Company to increase each of their not to exceed limits from 5 million to 6 million.
Second,
Second.
I have a motion from Counselor Smallwood and a second from Counselor Sheldon to authorize the suggested motion language. All those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, vote nay. Motion passes. Thank you.
That was the easiest.
Thank you, everybody.
That was top tier work, AJ.
This is new format.
Tyler, knock yourself out. City manager.
I've got,
Kelly.
just a reminder that we have an Economic Development Advisory Board meeting this Thursday. We'll be talking about what you're gonna talk about on your urban renewal agenda item here in a little bit, but sharing an update on the Energize Sandy grant program. And then I'm gonna turn it over to Josh just briefly to give you a heads up on some legislation that we're gonna need to schedule a different time to talk about, but he's gonna give you a brief opening. I'm gonna send you an email after this meeting that kind of recaps it a little bit more, and then we will discuss it further in the near future.
And I don't understand if we're not in session, how we have legislation.
This is legislation from the previous
Oh,
session that goes
thank you.
into effect
Okay.
July 1st. Well, actually, I'll take the step back. The email that Tyler's gonna forward you all is a recap of a lot of land use legislation. But I think there's 2 pieces that will be by far the most interesting or alarming to you, and those both go into effect on July 1st. So the first is House Bill 4037. Both of these are changes to the procedures that you can use for decision making. Not changes to what's allowed where or any of that. It's just decision making processes. House Bill 4037 amends the state law about clear and objective requirement for housing applications. So
For which
you're all
application?
aware that there's a requirement in existing law that you have to have clear and objective standards for housing applications. But you can also offer an alternative discretionary path that developers can choose to take, but they have to have this clear and objective path available to them. Under this law, anyone who elects to use the clear and objective path is going to be subject to a new streamlined decision-making process where no hearings can be held and only the applicant can appeal the decision. And
why- let me just ask this.
notice is limited.
I'm just trying to figure out, why are we just hearing about this now? That this was being proposed, when this is such a big deal that affects us, to hear that it's already passed and there's nothing we can do about it is really frustrating to me. That we haven't been given a heads up that this was even being introduced or anything like that. I think, yeah.
I can't fully answer that other than
And
say that League of Oregon Cities was very engaged in this and they sent out a lot of updates about it. But I apologize if those didn't make it to you on. The notice is also limited to properties within 100 feet of the subject site unless there's 20 or more dwelling units involved, and it could be 500 feet.
Notice is 100 feet?
100 feet. That's a maximum, not a minimum. It's usually minimum in the other state laws. So pretty significant change there, obviously. I guess that starting,
Do we have
first
the
the question
ability
will be,
to extend that if we pay for the notification?
is that maximum notification is 100 feet.
So they're not allowed to know, or, I'm
They're
saying
they're not allowed to be sent notice.
at all. Not that we have to, because usually the developer has to pay for the notice to be sent out. But if we choose to have that cost and say, we're gonna go 300,
The law says the city may only notice those owners of property within 100 feet. So there's some.
huh? That just seems illegal as far as, they can't know. That's-
Well, it doesn't stop anybody from finding out. It just stops somebody from being sent notice. Now, I will say there's some ambiguity about what does notice mean.
Okay, so we put it on
So
Facebook.
there's
and-
some flexibility about potentially.
Facebook is real quick, if
That's against code.
they only can apply if there's no hearing procedure to go through and it's just kind of fast track. But only the applicant can appeal. What decision would they be appealing?
Denial.
From the,
Or
like, from
conditions of approval
staff,
they don't like.
like a staff denial?
Right.
And then it gets appealed back to city council?
Gets appealed to whoever you want that appeal to go to.
Okay.
But again, no hearing,
But no hearing for the appeal?
no hearing for the appeal, no hearings at all.
So.
So you can't
it's just
belabor a decision, you have to make a decision.
What
So
is
you
it, just
can-
like
you can-
a
right, so you can conduct
record
a-
appeal and that we review the
They would
record?
submit their written appeal. I don't have a definitive answer for any of these because no one's done it yet, but
Hasn't been done
I envision that they would submit a written appeal. And city council would deliberate on what to do with that appeal, but not conduct a hearing where people are allowed to testify.
But people can still send in written comments and show up and provide public comment at the start of the meeting. And it doesn't absolve.
The public comment at the start of the meeting would be a challenging one to work through. We would probably have to, well, we can talk about some of those implementation details
That's
offline,
fair,
but
that's fair.
I don't think that public comment is going to absolve the city of the obligation to not hold a hearing through like shoehorning it into public comment. So you probably have to manage the public comment or disregard the public comment.
But we then have to make a decision.
If you offer a local appeal, you don't have to offer a local appeal, but you could. It could be that the staff decision.
And then
is
if
the
we
final
deny it again, they have to go to LUBA.
Right. So that's for if the developer chooses that clear and objective track. If the developer chooses a discretionary track, then those rules don't apply. So one thing cities may be doing is looking at what their clear and objective standards are and what incentives they can offer to encourage developers to choose a discretionary track so that you can still hold hearings on more applications.
Okay, so let me just clarify again. So if you only notify people within 100 feet, even if they comment, if they give comment, a hearing can't be held to accept that comment, or
They
you
would
do
make
it?
written comments. With no hearing, correct?
So this is gonna get tried, I assume, at some point. We'll get some case law against this one way or the other.
I expect there will be some litigation,
Yeah.
especially only the applicant can appeal.
And then if, so you said they could, written feedback would be accepted, but is it only from the people that live within 100 feet, or can people half a mile away send in?
There's no restriction on who can submit comments. It's just the noticing. So if they choose a clear and objective path, those are the rules. Discretionary path, those rules don't apply, the notice, the hearing restrictions, any of that. However, there's also Senate Bill 974, which says for three
What
types
does
of
it say again?
applications.
Senate
974.
Bill.
974 says for three types of applications, planned unit developments, variances, and zone changes to a higher density, which typically are discretionary. They don't have to be, but they typically are. For those, the city cannot conduct a hearing before making its initial decision. A hearing can still happen on appeal, but the first decision has to be without a hearing.
Cannot hold a hearing until city council makes a decision.
Party state.
Yep. That's exactly what happens.
So there is no zoning, basically. People can just develop whatever they want, wherever they want, however dense they want it. There is no single family. I mean, that's kind of what it sounds like, is that there's no zoning anymore, that
This
basically.
doesn't change anything about zoning, just the process for making rezoning decisions. And it's only that if it's a residential property being zoned to a higher density residential zone, then that first decision has to be made without a hearing. A local appeal can still have a hearing. Also for planned unit developments and variances.
Also what?
Planned units, developments, and variances, three application types.
We don't have those anymore. Right?
That's my understanding. right?
Planned unit developments we got rid of, but variances, so those go through currently, correct me if I'm wrong, like at least the variances and stuff go through planning commission in that first, right? Is their decision, because since there's no process and there's no appeals and it's only, is their decision, where does their decision fit in that whole scheme?
So I forgive me, I don't have all the aspects of how your development code works memorized. Some cities have variances that are clear and objective, right? Like you can vary up to 10% for whatever reason, like for no reason, basically. Or if you meet certain clear and objective requirements. So if that's the case, then it's going to fall into that first bucket we were talking about. No hearings, limited notice, only the applicant can appeal. If it's discretionary variance, like commonly see, you can adjust up to 25% if there is an unreasonable hardship or other kind of discretionary type standards, then it would fall into the Senate Bill 974 bucket, which would mean the first decision has to be made without a hearing, but you can still have hearings on appeal.
I don't understand how you have a hearing for something you've made a decision on already.
Appeal.
So
Appeal.
who can appeal it?
Anybody can appeal those.
So they have to file the money, they have to pay the money to file an appeal, which is not cheap. It's like $1,500 or something like that.
If they want to get a hearing, they can still testify through written testimony.
Through written testimony.
Right.
They can't.
None of these bills limit written testimony. So everybody who wants to can still submit written testimony. Just it limits the hearing process.
I thought, it's been a while since I was on planning commission, but planning commission, I think, has three types of key variances. Type 1, which is minor adjustments. Type 2 and 3 are both like small, and type 3 is substantial, but I thought both of those required a public hearing at the planning commission.
Most, maybe 100% of decisions that are made by planning commissions require hearings.
So how?
But they won't be able to anymore.
How do they hear feedback about the variance?
Right, so one of the questions that you'll have to grapple with for implementing this is is the planning commission still the correct decision maker for something where there's no hearing? Or do you make that initial decision a staff decision that's appealed to planning commission? In theory, I think you could still have a planning commission decision without a hearing. They get all the written comments in,
And they make a
they go
recommendation.
to a meeting, they have a deliberation, they make a decision.
They make
They
a
just don't get to
recommendation.
have that.
Or
give
they
and
make a
take.
recommendation.
They're making a decision or a recommendation.
They can do either.
Yeah.
But it would be a decision, right?
Yeah,
Until an appeal's filed, and then at that point. Then that's the only, I mean, up until then, that there's no.
There cannot be a
there's no
hearing until there's an appeal. Correct.
Yeah, as of right now, they make decisions.
Right,
right.
And unless it wants to be appealed, then it'll come to the
Right.
council. But with this new rule, we would have to decide whether they could make a definite decision or a recommendation for decision to us.
If they make a recommendation for a decision to you, and you're making then the initial actual decision, then you don't get to have a hearing either.
Can I make a request?
Let me just clarify, but they can't have a hearing if they're making the decision, they can't have a hearing either.
Either way.
Correct. So that's,
My ability to process all this is
Yeah.
long past. Can we get a write-up, legal
Yeah.
write-up on this that we can kind of absorb and then
Otherwise, we're gonna talk
a
about
work
here in a
session?
Okay,
Yeah, I just forwarded you a few minutes ago, an email that sort of doesn't dive deep into the weeds, but certainly a high level overview of these changes, and then indicated that, of course, we could schedule a work session and get that.
But I'd like to,
Have
I would like
Kelly
to have a
here
Josh.
too.
It's from his office,
Okay.
not Josh specifically,
Okay.
unless maybe you did ghostwrite it, I don't know, but it.
Thanks.
and it links to the bills as well, if you want to read some details.
Sorry, brain power
Oh.
gone.
Josh, were these passed last year or in the short session?
So 4037 was passed in 2026, and then 974 was passed in 2025, but effective July 1, 2026. So that's another, lovely thing that the legislature changed the rules and then didn't even wait for them to go into effect before changing them again on the same thing. Yes.
and we're paying so much money to lobbyists and LOC to learn about this stuff before it becomes final, and I just don't, I don't feel like that was captured here. It's a pretty big change. Okay, not anybody here's that we can do anything about it. So, Don, are you done? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, he's.
That was my last.
He's
well,
Last
yeah, I'm good.
We're
I'm
done
done.
about all that. We're over.
I'm ready for our next meeting.
Yeah, all right,
Yes.
Don?
I just want to say, after listening to all that, that maybe a moratorium is not such a bad thing, so. Geez, this is just one more move against the power of us as elected people and moving to a staff-based government.
Bureaucracy.
Yeah.
No report.
Briefly, planning commission last week, it was just AJ going over the new proposed water treatment system with planning commission. And this Friday, the farmer's market, I'll be sitting with Andy Howell from transportation. And we will be singing the praises of Sam and all of its wonderful things around the city. So if you're out and about, come buy some carrots and come say hi.
Last Thursday or Thursday before, I don't know, it all runs together, but we had C4. And Tyler, I just want to give Tyler recognition. He did a very good job of presenting our economic development grant process. And I felt like a lot of people were interested and kind of intrigued that it was really just us in Milwaukee that seemed to be kind of doing anything along those lines. So that was good to hear that we were taking kind of leading the charge on that. So, and Tyler did a great job presenting that. That's all I got.
Went to Yappy Hour last Thursday. The rain held off, so it was dry during the event. I think it was, I talked to John, I think it was very well attended, and everybody seemed to enjoy themselves. So kudos to a great event. And next Wednesday from 7 to, or excuse me, from 5 to 9? 7 to 9 is the PG wildfire event at the community center. So I will be there at a different capacity than my city council role, but I would encourage anybody who wants information on that to attend. That's all I got.
I have no report.
We met last week with, Senator Dexter's, Senator Dexter herself, and then also with, Senator Merkley's, staff, and that went very well. Just briefing them on the new alternative. And, we are meeting with, Congresswoman Dexter tomorrow, I think.
They reached out, asking to reschedule it, but we'll do it soon.
Okay, all right, and then, have a Parks Board, Clackamas County Parks Board meeting on Wednesday, but also have the fire thing. That's being held at, where's that at?
Community center.
Community Center, okay, yeah. And yeah, and great time at Happy Hour. They did such a great job there, so that's great. And looking forward to the economic development meeting here this Thursday. So, okay, meeting adjourned at 9:29. Let's